Did I hit the right button? Yeah, I did. Okay. There we go. Fox, does the audio sound better to you? I made a change while you were gone, and it sound, at least to me and to Ben, it sounds a lot better so far. It doesn't sound so tinny.
Yeah, it sounds a bit better.
Okay, good. That's what I was hoping. Was it? Yeah, those don't sound at all like they did. They sounded really awful when I was testing them earlier. So give me 1 sec to turn these down just a little. Okay. Everybody have the MOTD?
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody done with the MOTD, I guess? Ben?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Then, oh, I'm sure the date and everything. The previous day was actually an extremely long day, of course. As you guys remember, we actually had 3 full sessions that were all in the day before this, the Thursday. So
Yeah.
finally, it's on the following day. Only just a little bit. It's only a little after midnight, of course, as you guys were marching through the storm. But under a hellacious downpour, surrounded by lightning flashes and thunderous booms that were echoing through the foothills, the Chain of Dogs was on its last legs, surrounded on all sides by the enemy. The Crowblinders and the Miotau Vanguard were trying to defend the refugees with all they had, but they were being pretty swiftly overrun by the Vabian Legion. Were it not for your guys' arrival with the start, and the Miotau mercenaries of the chain would have been obliterated, of course. So the Miotau burst through the Legion's forces, and then half a dozen minutes later, the Legion was routed, and the remaining commanders were sounding their retreat. The stragglers were slaughtered by the Miotau and the crippled Crowblinders, and then the Legion pulled south, and Pepperjack called for the Chain of Dogs to regroup and scramble north to to Dunskathak, an old Muffian run. You guys marched through an hour or so of a hastened march, and the chain reached the first of the kind of rocky outcroppings, the walls that surrounded this old fortress. You guys still kind of filled with adrenaline from the fight. Pepperjack and his lieutenants stood beside the collapsed holes in the walls, kind of hastily and forcefully waving everybody inside the keep. It's not... There's little in the way of like roofs and things like that. It's basically just old broken walls. Like there isn't a lot of standing structure anymore. This is 1600 years old or so. So here you are, just arrived at Dunskathak, amongst the 8,000 or so of the remaining lives that people are still alive of the Chain of Dogs. What do you guys wish to do? It is still raining and storming very heavily. You basically, have a lot of wounded with you. A lot of people that are still the walking wounded is what they're called. And then the refugees that are remaining. I think it was about 5,000 refugees left. 4.5 to 5,000.
So I guess start getting some people inside, see if we can bandage some people up. And you said Pepperjack is here, right?
Yeah, Pepperjack, his lieutenants, who a couple of them. There's people calling out orders that you recognize a couple of the faces of, and then some faces that you don't, that are calling out orders. But yeah, there's basically, you do see Pepperjack and you see Astarte, and then, her commanders amongst the Miotau.
Okay. I was going to say we should go report to Pepperjack. Well, actually, I probably will anyway, just, see if he has anything else to say, but I was going to let him know, but I'm sure Astarte probably told him what happened in the battle, so...
Yeah, he's kind of ordering people through the walls, the same as everybody else. He is kind of a ways away from you. But as you guys are kind of approaching the walls with this kind of you're almost like the mile gate, basically. You've got, many thousands of people that you're trying to force through some holes in the wall, essentially, to get inside, and the holes aren't that big. So it's kind of these big groups almost bottlenecked there and kind of trying to force their way through this big crowd of people to get inside the walls. Now, again, there's no roof on the inside. You're not going into a building. You're just basically going inside that what would be an outer wall, like a fortification wall. And then inside there are more broken down stone structures, but you're not, headed through a door into a building or anything of that sort. But while you guys are... Go ahead, Fox.
It's basically kind of like... Oh, okay, so there's no roof. It's just like a structure on either side. Yeah,
so right now you guys are basically heading through the outer wall, what would be kind of a defensive wall like a castle would have, and then inside that wall are other stone structures that had been, 1600 years ago, had been buildings. They did have roofs and things like that, but those have long since caved in, and there is one large central keep, one large fortification in the middle inside of this wall that would have been, a very large castle essentially in the middle of it, or a keep. That's what a dun is in Celtic, which is what the Nephilim are based on. But anyways, yeah, it's all kind of, it's pretty, there are some structures that still have, half of a roof left and things like that, but not much. If you imagine old Greek buildings and fortresses, like there are not many that are left, but there are some that are still intact, kind of that, except, these
partially
weren't,
intact. Yeah, gotcha.
yeah, for that basically the idea that you're looking at. But as you guys are kind of starting to make your way through this, you do recognize Clover. Do you guys remember who that is?
Entirely.
She was
Lieutenant?
Yeah, she's one of Pepperjack's lieutenants. She's the one that you guys helped fix her wagon.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. I mean, really, in time, that was, let's see.
Not that long ago,
yeah,
but because,
that was,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because it's been, we're talking months of time, of course, but...
but it's only been a few weeks.
Yeah, not very long. That was, Maebe was still there, so that would have been... that was, not even that was 5 days ago.
Oh, okay, wow.
That was Monday, and today's Friday, basically.
A long week, man.
Yeah.
Long.
Yep. Now, of course, during that time, that was basically when the Crowbinders attacked the Vabian Legion that had, was absconding with the Chain of Dogs. And that was when you helped her fix her wagon. But anyways, you do see her, and she is trying to kind of wave people through the wall there. And then when she looks up and sees you, her hood is pulled down to kind of dull the hard rain. Her face is just covered in blood and mud, so you can barely kind of recognize her features. But she shouts over the crowd. She yells, "Natural ones, here, here!" And she kind of puts her hand up, trying to wave you guys over as she looks immediately right back down and trying to push the people through the wall.
I guess may as well go towards her before we check on the injured.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys head over there, and you're kind of wading through this sea of people that are trying to force their way through the wall. Norak, you don't have much trouble with that, of course, because they can't really push you very much. But Sarah, you're like, you can't even see over the crowd of people and are being kind of jostled left and right constantly. Arteme, it's not quite so bad, but still, similarly being kind of pushed with this ebb and flow of the sea of people almost. But you guys carefully make your way over to where Clover is. And she's, beside the wall there and almost like back against it, like leaned against the wall. And as soon as you get close enough, you can see that she's actually got one kid. She's got two kids that are standing next to her, one on each side. And they're, quite a bit shorter, of course. She's got one small, dirty-faced kid on either side of her. Her hands are kind of resting on each of their shoulders to keep them from getting lost in the crowd. And she, looks up at you guys as she keeps kind of, lifting a hand off of one of them to kind of wave people in. She says, I'd hoped you made it. It wasn't much in the way of food for our hunters to procure on the way out of the Sand Sea, so that wagon load of supplies that you helped me move, that kept us fed for almost 2 days. Rook would have been really pissed if I'd lost her wagons.
Happy to help.
Forgot I have little story note things I get in here so that you guys can remember NPCs a little easier. A primer thing. I had a primer to go over with you guys too, and I forgot to mention it. Quickly for Sarah, Becky, on your sheet I put a self version of Mage Armor, so that you can just click that in the future. You'll see two versions in there. One that says self, you can just click that. The other one that doesn't say self, if you do cast it on somebody else, you would just drag it over to them like you had been previously. Second, though, there are a lot of NPCs in this session. Some of them you already know, some of them you don't, but there will be a lot of VAs for them too. So I'll leave most of the VAs are visual aids, Fox. I know you asked that before, but basically pictures. So if I'll leave most of those in the images folder. So if you forget who an NPC is, you can just go back to the images folder and find the VA for them. Just to if a visual representation helps you remember who they are, that's fine too. And then of course as always, just remember to ask NPCs names, that kind of stuff. It'll be a lot easier for you. If I don't just give them to you automatically. This is Clover, though, because I don't think I gave you guys a VA before, so that is Clover there.
Is she an elf too?
Yeah, she's an elf.
Okay.
She is a different species than what you are, but yeah, she is an elf.
Okay.
Different sub-race is what she is. Anyway, though, you guys, I mean, if you want to leave it up, you can. You don't have to, of course. I just give those to you, like I said, so you can get to them. Fox, just to remind you, if you need to pull that back up again, on the right side in Fantasy Grounds, you'll see a button that says Image/Map.
Yep.
If you click that, anything that is listed in there, you'll be able to find. VAs are basically pictures of stuff, and then maps, of course, are maps. So anything that's been shared to you, you'll be able to find in there. Okay. Where did I leave off? There we are. Anyway, she says Rook would have been pissed if I'd lost her wagons. And then she looks down to the two kids that are on either side of her, and they're both like very dirty and not showing any expression at all. They look shell-shocked a little bit. She says, we need to get these walls reinforced and patched up in the collapsed areas before the Legion regroups. And she gestures to the two dirty children. She says, "This is Nevish," and she looks down to the girl, or to the one on their left, which you think is probably a boy. And she says, "And this is Nadir, and whom you guess is probably a girl." They look like twins, but it's hard to tell under all the mud. Neither of them show any expression whatsoever. They look up at you, but they're not smiling or anything like that. Make either Arcana or Nature checks, whichever you prefer.
Don't matter for me.
Yeah, if it's the same, then it doesn't make any difference, but it's up to you on... Oh, you rolled on your wild shape sheet, Fox, so the modifier could be different is all. The mental skills would be the same, so probably it's the same anyways.
I didn't use my frenzy rage on the last fight, so I shouldn't have exhaustion.
Yeah, it's the same.
Oh, you just used your regular rage? You didn't use your frenzy?
Yeah, I did on the mage. Because I thought we were going to fight more, so I didn't use my frenzy.
Gotcha, okay, so you were saving it just in case?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I thought you had on there. Maybe it was just the regular rage, and when I removed the regular rage, I'm just used to assuming that you did or something.
Yeah,
so.
And then I have extra attack now, and I just got that at this level, so I have that extra attack.
Yeah, you don't need it quite as often. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
cool. Okay. Natural 20 for Sarah, for Arteme. You dropped a 4 anyways, G, so even with the 4, you still would have failed. So.
Yeah.
But both Sarah and Arteme recognize something in the... Sorry, my dogs are playing very loudly. Harold! They can play all they want, but they can't bark. Hush. I think it's Esther actually trying to get him to yell. Anyway, both Sarah and Arteme, though, you recognize something in their eyes. Both of them are obviously wild. Different cultures call them different things, but they're usually called wild shamans. Their eyes have this kind of dim electricity of like natural arcane command. In fact, it's specifically what Sarah was born as. If she was a tribal, born into a tribal culture, that's what she would be, is what these kids are. Norak, amongst your people and other people of the Wuad Plains tribe, so these are usually called Wiccans. Wickans. Here. And Clover leans in closely, though, and then she takes the hand away from Nadir's shoulder up to whisper to you guys. And she actually doesn't... She kind of puts it, like, under her chin, basically, like she's trying to speak to you guys without them being able to read her lips. But she has to whisper so loud amongst the rain and all the noise of the refugees that are trying to get inside the walls that it's kind of pointless anyways. She says, these two just lost their older brother, Nil, out there. They're competent mages, especially when it comes to moving Earth, but they're really a bit sensitive right now, so we're going to need to be careful about this. And she kind of leans back and she puts her hands back on Nadir's shoulder, and then she kneels down between them so that they kind of turn and look to her. She says, guys, do you think you can go with these nice people and help rebuild the walls so that we can be safe in here? And neither of them show any response. A solid, a few seconds pass of just them being completely expressionless, and then they turn and simultaneously they kind of step towards the three of you, and each of them hold up a hand. So that, for one of you to kind of take their hand and to lead them where they need to go. She says, do you mind taking them and showing them what to do?
I'd grab them.
Did you say something, Becky?
No, I think I hit my mic.
Okay. So she kind of pointing over the crowd, with you guys. I guess, are either of you, Arteme is grabbing one. You could probably grab both, even Arteme, if you chose to.
Yeah.
If Sarah's afraid to touch the dirty kids.
That's what I
Yeah,
said.
probably.
I would grab both.
But looking over the crowd, though, you can see the spots in the holes in the walls, basically. And like the crowd is almost through. Basically, the thousands and thousands, like during this conversation, have largely piled through. That there isn't a whole lot left that are still out there. But Clover points to the spots. She says those are the spots that we need to fill up, because if they show up, we obviously we'd rather be defending only one or two spots than trying to cover all of it. So Pepperjack wants us to patch these all up, and Nadir and Nevish here can kind of patch these easily. So if you can take them to them, they'll know what to do.
Cool.
I just know.
Okay. So the crowds have largely made it through. You're able to kind of walk relatively easily now around the outside of the wall here. You approach the first one, and you don't really even need to tell them anything. Nevish kind of holds both hands out, and you see him starting to kind of, like he's kneading clay, starting to squish the air, basically like he's kneading clay. And the mud, the ground around here, of course, is just soaked in mud. Like every footstep, you're kind of having to pull your boots out of the mud just to walk. But he starts kind of shaping the ground around this until it kind of shores up, into the wall a little bit. And initially, it looks like it's basically just going to be a ramp, because he's kind of pulling it up, all this mud that just kind of ramps up to the wall and then would ramp down on the other side. But he keeps kind of mushing it in and in as best as he can. And as he's doing that, Nadir, the girl, is similarly making similar motions, basically, but you see that the mud is starting to turn to a dark gray, and getting like more and more ashen colored until it begins to solidify, and it looks like they've kind of slowly are digging out holes in the ground of mud, basically, and building the wall up again, and then turning it into rock, so that the wall becomes relatively solid again. And each time they do this, takes about 10 minutes, so it takes you a good while to go around the outside of this exterior wall, and patch in spots. And there are some spots that are 20 or 30 feet wide, where the wall has just collapsed from age. So it takes quite a bit of time to get most of this built up. And by the time you come back around to where Clover was, everybody is inside. There is one large mile gate that is still mostly intact, and the door itself, basically the big gate, is still there. It's a portcullis, so it's not wood, but old steel that is still in place, and that's the only doorway, basically, that Pepperjack had given instructions to leave open. So you're able to finally get the rest of it finished up and make your way back inside. Most of the refugees are still kind of milling around out in the rain, because there just isn't much in the way of shelter to get under. You do see there's very little in the way of tents and things like that, because the wagons are mostly being used for supplies for food and things like that. So most of the less necessary settings and what's the word I'm looking for, like shelters, things like that, have been thrown out to be able to afford room for food. But you see one large tent, which you guess is probably where Pepperjack is, and then there is one large kind of ramshackle tent, but there's no sides. It's basically just a bunch of wooden posts that are just trees that had the sides stripped off of them, with a canvas poked on top of it. And it's wide, like it covers a big wide area. And underneath that, there's people everywhere, so it's hard to make out, any faces. But underneath that, you do see the Red Candle Priest under there. His name was Kwando. I don't know if you remember his name or not. But the Red Candle Priest who had his hands cut off is under there. And he looks like he's dealing with most of the people are laid out on underneath that, are laid out on like cots, basically. So it's probably where the wounded are. What are you guys doing?
Head over and talk to the priest and see if we can help.
Taking the kids with you?
It's up to you guys.
Should we take him back to Clover?
No idea.
The kids, like, you look down and they're still just expressionless. They're like shell shocked.
I just. I'd probably bring them to get something to eat instead of going to see more injured people, because if they're shell shocked, they'd need some.
You don't see supplies, really. There are wagons that have the supplies in them, but they're not like, there's nobody out there, handing out food or anything yet. They're just kind of getting rained on. There's tarps thrown over them, but the wagons are getting rained on. It is like 1 a.m. Actually, no, because the amount of time it took you guys to do this, it's probably about 3 a.m. actually at this point. You guys did have an afternoon nap, and most of the people didn't, of course, so, you know, most of the folks are pretty, even the refugees, even the soldiers, and the Miotau are kind of not moving very quickly. They did just have, you know, a big battle, of course, at the end of an already long day. And you guys, by the way, in case that wasn't clear, the battle that was going on where the Crowblinders were being attacked with the chain of dogs in the middle of them, that battle had been going on for a while. You guys just showed up and ended it really fast because they were, you know, they'd already killed off a good amount of the Legion, and then the Legion was wiped out by the Miotau, just kind of rear-ending them and just wiping them out. So they'd actually been fighting for a while before you guys got there.
I'd still go look for food and feed them.
Okay.
And then after that, see if there's a place where they can go to sleep for a while.
Okay.
Out of the rain. And if
okay.
not, then I'll just put my cloak above them and hold it above them so they can sleep without the rain.
Well, you do see the wagons, so make an investigation check, I guess, whoever's looking through wagons to see if they can find food.
I'm pretty conspicuous, so I don't think I'm going to look. I'm just going to stay with the kids. So.
Sure.
Overlook.
You don't know that that would be a bad thing necessarily. Like, you probably piss somebody off, but, you know, nobody's going to be too mad, most likely. Especially after
kids,
you guys helped, so, yeah. Both of you, Sarah and Arteme, like, Sarah, you find the wagon first, just, you know, because it's the first one that you go to. Arteme was behind the one that you initially came to. But you both kind of make your way to this wagon where you find a big crate that is filled with dried jerky. Like, it's basically traveling. It's like hardtack style jerky, basically. So there's, you know, there is some actual hardtack in there, or bread in there as well. But, you know, small bits of dried meat, basically.
Well, Sarah being Sarah, she's just gonna shove some in her bag.
Okay. Do you guys not have food still? Like, did you use up all your food? I think you still had some, didn't you?
I don't think I have any rations left.
Okay. But you do find, you know, enough that you can feed the kids.
Yeah, I think we ran out of rations getting there, and I didn't go hunting because we did the trials. Yeah, I didn't go hunting along the way because that was the plan. We just took enough rations for a couple of days, and then I was gonna hunt to get the rest, but never got a chance.
Yeah, I just actually looked through the party inventory, and I don't see rations anywhere, so looks like you guys did eat it all. But there's enough in there that you guys can grab some. What'd you?
I was going to say, if we're going to sleep for the night, if Arteme still has Goodberry loaded, we could just make some of those. I mean, if she's up for it. Since we're going to take, if we have a chance, take a rest anyway before we carry on. Not sure, though.
Did you prep Goodberry, Fox?
No, I don't think so. I normally had it. No, I don't have it. I have create water instead of them.
Which is perfect in a downpour.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were spending a lot of time in the desert, so previously it would have been more useful.
Yeah.
But you do find, you know, plenty in there to feed them. You grab a little bit to feed yourself. For Sarah, go ahead and mark down that you have a day's worth of dried meat in case you need it later. And it, you know, it's stuff that'll keep. Like, that's the kind of the purpose of you know, MREs, is that they're, you know, stuff that won't go bad. So, you know, you'll be able to hold on to it for a while.
I don't have a thing for rations in here, so...
You can just put meat. Just hit enter on there and to create a new line, and then put dried meat 1 day worth. Dried meat, and then parentheses 1 day. But you hand them, you know, a little bit, and they both kind of grab it from you again. They're not really showing any expressions whatsoever, but they each take, you know, thankfully take a little chunk of meat and start chewing on it. One of them, the boy, holds his out just kind of into the water a little bit, like just holding it up into the rain, like he's trying to soften it up a little bit to make it easier to chew. Oh, I did not share this one, so you can get their names. There you go. What are you guys doing?
Go over and check with the priest and see if he needs help now. Or actually, we need to find a place for the kids to go to sleep.
Well, I mean, the wagons are nearby where he is anyways with all the wounded. So, I mean, you can.
Find a wagon and stuff the kids in or something. Go check with the priest to see what they have.
Okay. There it is. Okay, I thought I had deleted something. I might have, actually, because I think that line's missing. I'm not sure what it was I deleted. You make your way over to that kind of ramshackle, like carport, almost. It's not really a tent. It's just basically a canopy that is barely keeping the rain and the wind off of the wounded people here. It's just basically that rough canvas that's kind of stretched over top of some branches. The wounded obviously are still like in a constant chorus of just like groans and like weak pained cries, but you do see that the Red Candle Priest and two others that actually do have their hands that are kind of carrying amongst the wounded and going from one to the next and kind of checking on them and trying to apply whatever bandages and things like that they can. You notice though that the Red Candle Priest actually at first you didn't recognize him except for the hands because he's doing as best he can without his hands. It's obvious that they still hurt him, but he's torn away all that remained of the red robes that he was wearing, probably to use for bandages and so on for others. But he's just basically wearing like a simple loincloth, and he's out, just under the cover for this, but still basically out in the freezing rain. And he's kind of old and pretty badly beaten already. You notice that he's covered in scarred tattoos that you hadn't noticed before. Like his arms had tattoos, but you never noticed that he was covered completely in them. This is what he looks like. Here's a VA for you.
That is a lot of tattoos.
Yeah, it's like tribal style tattoos, but he's basically covered head to toe. You'd only seen basically his forearms before because he had robes on, and he kept tearing away bits of it when he was trying to help people, and there just isn't any left now. It's obvious that the stumps are healing, but they're still causing him significant pain, and he is occasionally murmuring very subtle divine incantations, like it's just something he's been gotten used to during the time since being evicted from Al-Qadir. But you notice that he's not using it on himself, even though his hands are up, all his wrists are still obviously hurting, and he's basically just kind of gritting his teeth through that and trying to administer to the people that, the wounded that are there. So, what are you guys doing?
I'm guessing I can't use Healing Word to regenerate his hands.
No. There are ways to do that, but you don't have the kind of spells needed for that yet. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
We take a little marker and draw some little hands on the stumps. Make it feel
Carve some wooden ones, so he's just got big, stupid wooden hands that he can't use.
There you go. It was there. We look around in some of the wagons. Is there any extra, like, clothing or anything that we could give him so he doesn't fucking freeze to death? Even, like, a little, cloak or anything? If not, I'll give mine, even though it's wet.
I mean, you go ahead. I mean, you can make an investigation check if you're going to go look in the wagons, but you guys weren't really looking for that, and both Arteme and Sarah, in the checks they were doing, just found because the wagons that they looked at were supplies. They were food, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, then I will give him mine for now, if he wants it.
Okay. I mean, yours is that big, hairy bear skin.
Probably be a blanket for him. So.
Okay. All right. So when you guys approach it, he kind of looks up, and it takes him a minute to recognize you. You can tell just how tired he is when he looks up at you. His eyes are just completely bloodshot, like he's got to be just completely exhausted. But he looks up at you, and like he doesn't seem to recognize you at first. Like initially, you get the impression that he's like, what is it? What do you need? Kind of a look. And then when he does recognize you, there's just a very subtle but pained smile that crosses his features, and he says, "Oh, I'm glad to see you guys made it. What can I help you with?"
Nothing, just the opposite. We're going to see if we can help you. And here, take this so you don't freeze. And I'll offer him my cloak.
He kind of looks down at it, and like his mouth opens a little bit, like as if he's about to say thank you. And make an insight check on Norok. All three of you can make it, but Norok was the one that would notice most likely, so DC will be easier. You see, like, when you first go to hand this to him, it immediately looks like you can tell basically what his first thought is, and his first thought is as well, is it something that I can use like to tear up to make more bandages and stuff like that. He looks down, and it's almost a disappointed look first when he realizes that it's a bear skin and like he can't really do that. Arteme, you see this as well, that 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 was clearly his first thought. There's like just this slight tinge of disappointment that this isn't something that he could use to help the others, but then there is kind of a sincere gratitude that crosses his features as he realizes, well, shit, since it's something that he can't really tear up to use as bandages, he'll actually be able to kind of keep warm and won't die of freezing to death in the middle of the night. It wouldn't be that cold, except that he's basically naked in the rain, and then through the middle of the night it's going to be even harder if he even gets to sleep. But he kind of holds his wrists out, his stumps out towards you, and there's just a very a genuine smile that crosses his features for sure. And there's it's like if it weren't for the rain, you could probably tell that his eyes are a little bit wet. But he kind of grabs it from you and tries to shrug it up over his shoulders, and he just nods and says, thank you for for this. It's I gave everything away to try to help these people that are hurt here, and then make another insight check on Norak. Just Norak this time. He stops in the middle of his sentence and he starts to kind of stammer a little bit, and then he looks back up at you and he says, I'm afraid I have some bad news. And he kind of turns and motions with his wrist off towards the side. You guys kind of came around from where the wagons were, and you haven't really seen all of the wounded people in here. And he's motioning off to kind of the far side that you hadn't really gone to yet. He says, your friend, he's over there. It doesn't look so good. I've done all I can.
He's... shit. Damn it. Alright, I'm gonna head over that way. Run over to where he said.
You walk over that direction. Sarah and Arteme, what are you guys doing?
I'm barely standing inside the tent, extremely uncomfortable being around wounded people.
Okay. What's Arteme doing?
I'd probably go and check to see if I could heal any of the wounded.
Okay. You then, in that case, Kwando kind of takes you along, like to show you the most injured that still he believes he can save with a little bit of help. You get the impression from him that he's pretty tapped out as far as what his supernatural capabilities are. I say supernatural not in the sense of like superheroes, but in the sense of like his divine healing. Basically, he's tapped out. He doesn't have much left for the day. He'll need to rest first, which means letting people die while he's sleeping, essentially. So that's why he's averse to that. But anyways, he does kind of take you from the most wounded that he believes are savable to let you apply some healing if you don't mind. How many are you willing to? I guess how many of your spell slots are you willing to use?
I think I have 2 first slots.
You have 2 first slots, 2 second slots, and 1 third level slot available still.
Okay, so I could use Healing Word on 2 of them, and then I could keep up my Healing Spirit for a little while.
You can move your Healing Spirit amongst them, huh? So if you did that, you could move it 10 times, meaning you could potentially get 10 heals out of that 1 second level slot.
So I could probably get 20...
Okay.
Okay, so I could probably get 22 heal.
If you used both second level slots, you mean, and your Healing Word?
Both second level slots and 2 Healing Words.
Okay. Kwando throughout all of this is just utterly elated because these are people that, he was afraid to go to sleep because as soon as he goes to sleep, these people could die in the next 3 hours, and then, they would be dead before he could wake up, and then he wouldn't have the capability of being able to do anything about it. So, I mean, he is utterly overjoyed that you are here to kind of help him with this. The other 2 assistants that are there don't have any means of divine capability. All they're doing is basically bandaging and trying to ease the pain of the wounded as you're going through this process. So, you saving a good percentage. Like there's a lot of wounded here, and there's a lot more that are walking wounded that'll be okay. But these 10 or this overhang, these people that are laying on these cots were people who will probably die tonight otherwise. So go ahead and take inspiration for that. And then just because I think it's funny, go ahead and take inspiration on Sarah as well for standing outside. And for Norak, you hadn't forgotten what your responsibility here, but the kind of moment of recognition there reminded you exactly what was at stake. And you go around the corner to where he was kind of gesturing to. You notice that he didn't follow you. He was trying to give you, some space because by his assessment, it's going to be too late anyways. But you walk around the corner and you see laying on the cots there, Obo. In a very large, spot, it's really less of a cot and more just, some a tarp that has been laid over some rocks on the ground, so he's not laying in the mud, but he's basically laying on rocks that are sticking out of the mud. And he's got a bandaged up gut wound, and the bandages are very yellow and discolored. And there's blood in there as well, but they're like the bandages they look sickly. It looks like a gut wound. As you're kind of approaching him, he doesn't look up to you. He doesn't he's there, but his eyes are like he's comatose almost.
All right, I'm going to gently grab his face a little bit and turn his eyes towards me and see if he, recognizes.
Make a medicine check, I guess. Natural 1. Yeah, he's still. It seems like he's fading in and out of consciousness just slightly, but it's not enough that he can't focus his eyes on you. Like his pupils don't look at you; they're just kind of rolling around really slowly in his head. And any movement, like if you come too close to him, like there's a groan from him.
All right. I'm going to go back to. Is Clover still around?
You don't see her.
All right. I'm just going to wait with him for now.
Okay. Sarah and Artemy? Just finishing up the healing and hanging out in the under the tarp?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably the kids, by the way, throughout this were with you, but I would say they probably just stood next to Sarah and didn't really, leave her side for a while. But after probably 15-20 minutes or so, they go wandering towards that big tent. There is one actual tent, which is where you guess is probably where Pepperjack is. And they go kind of wandering off that way towards that tent, and then they go inside. There is light inside there. By this point, it is about 3:30 a.m. And while Norak, while you're still sitting there with Obo, you hear a shout over the kind of. There's still people all around that are basically just kind of hunkered down and sitting with most with cloaks and things like that, whatever they can, over their heads while they're trying to basically sit in the mud and just wait out the rain. Obviously not many able to sleep and so on because there just isn't there's no beds and stuff like that for them to be able to use at this point. But you hear a shout over the crowd of people, and it yells, "Yogg, you're with the Natural Ones, aren't you?"
I'll turn towards where it is and say, "Yeah, why?"
You see a relatively small man, but he's clad in heavy plate armor. Far too heavy to be comfortable at all to be walking around in the mud, let alone in the rain like this. And he comes kind of stomping towards you, all of the noise of that armor just kind of jangling along. His eyes are completely bloodshot, dark hair. He looks very battle-weary. But he approaches through all the mud and the rain and addresses you. He says, "I'm Lieutenant Sampson. Commander Pepperjack would like you to join the War Council meeting. Please accompany me if you would."
I'll just nod.
He says, your friends, did they make it?" Pepperjack
Yeah,
called for all three of you.
Yeah, they're here somewhere. They were helping the wounded last I saw.
He says the commander would like to see all three of you, so if we can locate them, that's who I need to bring.
I'll find them. They're in the big tent?
Well, he means Sarah and Artemy. Not
Yeah,
the,
I mean,
not the
I
kids.
meant them. It's Pepperjack in the big tent. That's what I'm asking them.
Oh, yeah. He says, yeah, but I'll take you.
All right. Well, they're over here. Go back to where the priest was.
Okay. Sarah, Artemy, you guys go?
Yeah.
Okay. Then Samson, who here, let me give you the VA for him as well. I got to remember to do this because I have notes in here, but I skip over these notes on accident sometimes. So just if I introduce somebody and I don't have a VA for them, just ask me if I've got one because I probably do. That'll kind of help me remind myself. I've used all those. Good. Okay. But he leads you off towards that large tent. and he leads you, through all the mud and everything over to this big old tent. And he holds the flap open for you to enter. It's barely tall enough for you to get in, Norok. You could probably stand up straight, but the wind and the rain keeps blowing the canopy around slightly, so it just keeps tapping against the top of your head, which is very uncomfortable. Inside, it's lit by 2 large lanterns that are hanging from the tent frame, and you see a big chunk of ancient stone, probably, had been a stone column or a piece of a wall or something, that they just built a tent around that, basically, just using it as a table. Laying on top of it, there is a thick bear skin hide that's been placed, and then an unfurled giant parchment that is rolled out on top of that. And then standing in a circle around this makeshift war table are some faces you recognize and others that you don't. You see Commander John Rudin, who's Pepperjack, of course, a.k.a. Pepperjack. He's leaned over, and he's got one finger that he's tracing lines on the parchment, which is apparently a map. Here, I'll show you Pepperjack again, in case you guys don't remember what he looks like.
Looks like cheese.
Old, gray-haired cheese, maybe. Alright. But you see him, you see Clover standing nearby, her arms are folded. She's cleaned off most of the mud and blood off of her face, but her demeanor is really solemn. Astarte is there, and she's standing across from Pepperjack. She's similarly leaned over the map, but you kind of expect that this is to prevent her horns from tearing a hole in the canvas tent, and less about staring at the map itself. Samson, who just entered behind you, he comes in through the tent, and he paces over and stands beside Pepperjack, and he's got this kind of dour smirk on his face. And then there's 2 other people that you don't know, a human man and woman, both Vindian. But before you have a second to kind of take stock of them at all, Pepperjack looks up and sees you've come in, and he stands and regards all 3 of you. He says, "Good, you're here. Your timely arrival on the battlefield with Astarte and her forces saved all our lives. I'd be honored if you would join our War Council meeting to plan our defenses."
Just
Sure.
Make perception checks, all 3 of you.
Alright. And I'll just try to get over the corner out of the way.
Get what?
So I'm not blocking everybody.
Oh.
Just get over the corner out of the way so I'm not blocking everybody.
Okay. Do you still have that button, G?
Oh, hang on. Get there.
Okay. There you go. All right. Pepperjack, he continues. He says, "I received a report when we got inside the walls here. The 18th was decimated by that mage that you killed. Only 1 soldier survived, and she specifically recounted your heroism in facing him down." He says, "So with that, thanks for coming. Some quick introductions. Of course, you know Astarte of the Morvok Neotau," and Astarte just grunts at you. She says, "You've met Lieutenant Clover, commander of the 3rd Sect," and Clover gives you kind of a pleasant smile, but it doesn't seem to really touch her eyes. She looks like she's obviously still solemn. She's just, being polite. And he turns to his left, Lieutenant Sampson, holding rank for Lieutenant Laredo, whom you met at the Mile Gate in the Great Sand Sea. Unfortunately, Laredo was killed in a skirmish with the Mortrillis Havoc Squad. Lieutenant Sampson will be taking his place for the time being." Sampson nods at you guys, still expressionless. And then Pepperjack gestures towards the 2 that you haven't met. First to the Vindian human male. He's got a gray and white beard, similar a little bit to Pepperjack. This man looks like this, who you guys might even actually recognize a little bit because it was just an artistic rendition of a living person. He says, "This is our Imperial historian Quill. He's sent by Emperor Simon Caius himself to spy on us." And the man who he just called Quill, he kind of chuffs warmly. He says, "Hardly, sir. My purpose is a bit more humble. I'm the one who must recount what we've lost to the Emperor." Remember to hit these notes too. Here you go. Pepperjack just smiles back at him. It's clear they're friendly amongst the 2 of them, even though Pepperjack just kind of half-heartedly accused him of being a spy for the Emperor. Pepperjack says, and finally, we have our illustrious quartermaster, Rook, and he gestures towards that Vindian woman. She's garbed in garish reds and blues. She's got this ridiculous hat on, like this big puffy stupid hat with a feather in it. And she's got a well cared for lute. Like, and in fact, Norak would recognize this because, having acquired a lute himself just for playing, she's got a very expensive lute strapped over her back. Rook nods and smiles at you. She doesn't say anything. This is Rook.
I'm going to look over at her lute and nod.
Oh, did I share? I did share quills. Yeah, there you go. You guys, Fox could potentially recognize her, but I doubt it. Fox, do you recognize her?
Not really.
Okay.
Kind of, but not really. I'm bad with faces.
Yeah. She's actually from, not the actress, but that's just somebody's cosplaying as her, but that's actually a pretty famous character, but the art would be recognizable only because it's very clear, very recognizable that it's how she looks. Okay.
I have no idea what that'd be for me.
Oh, good. I was just curious. That actually is good for a couple of other things anyways. Better if you don't recognize some stuff.
It's making me curious to ask what it's from.
She's a character. Well, the picture, the art, is from The Witcher 3.
Oh, people keep telling me to play that, and I just haven't played it yet. I need to see if it goes on sale.
It might be a bit dark for you, Fox, but it is a very, very good game.
Well, people said it was interesting, and
it is. It's great. It's just it's a very hard to say. I guess a German version of fairy tales almost, where everybody dies and it's all bad. So.
Oh, so actual fairy tales, not the Disney made happily ever. Okay, so the original. Okay, gotcha. No, that'd be.
All right. So he goes through and introduces everybody. Basically, that's all of them. Again, Rook nods and smiles at you. She doesn't say anything. He says, "Everyone, these three call themselves the Natural Ones. Norak of the Antaros Plains peoples, Seraphina of Dunfield near Eifelstead, and Arteme of the Monodoran Elves. They're imperial citizens, cast out of Vabi with the rest of the refugees, but they helped secure the contract with Astarte and her Miotau warriors." And he says, "Okay, now with that out of the way, let's get down to business. Lieutenant Sampson, how many wounded?" And Sampson speaks up. It's clear that he's a little bit nervous. Norak, you got the note of his particular disposition, but when that changes, I guess is how I'd say this. He turns into very eager and very positive all of a sudden. Make an insight check real quick for Norak again to see if he notices this change, I suppose.
All right.
Nope, not with that roll. Never mind. It was a really low DC. You're just rolling really shitty, even without your disadvantage. Huh?
During this time, I noticed that he was looking at me, so I'm kind of immediately looking at him as well too, because I'm in a very fucking shitty mood right now. So
okay.
I'm not doing anything, but I'm definitely not looking away from any stairs.
So to clarify though, the look that he had on his face earlier when you guys entered was not specifically directed at you, but rather the group of you, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, I thought it was just to me, so still, I'm kind of keeping an eye on him kind of thing, I guess I could say then.
Sure.
So.
He replies, though, he says, estimates near 600, sir. Final counts are still being taken. And this battle-weary knight, he kind of pauses for a moment. He says, many of our wounded were lost on Sodden Field, which is what that was called, by the way. There you go. Meaning that they couldn't defend the wounded, so the Vabian Legion went through and just murdered the rest of the wounded that couldn't really defend themselves, with a lot of them anyways, which is why there are so few left. And Pepperjack nods. He says, "We'll remember their sacrifice. Rook, how do our supplies hold?" And the bard woman replies. She says, "We don't have enough for a long siege, sir. We will need to establish a supply line to the Empire as soon as possible." And Pepperjack frowns. He says, "How many days at current head count?" And she replies, 4, 5 maybe with severe rationing. His scowl deepens and you see these kind of visible frown lines on his cheeks. He says, "Do it. It may be a week or more before the Empire can send aid." And then he continues. He says, "Astarte, your forces are the least battle-weary. Can we count on you to man the perimeter while our soldiers rest and recuperate our wounded?" And she nods. You see her horns kind of graze the inside of the canvas above. She says, "We'll hold the line, Commander." He turns to Clover. He says, "Clover, what have your scouts seen?" She says, "The Legion's primary force has retreated south. We have no eyes on the Albashar yet, but evidence of their presence has been seen at multiple villages just north of here. And he scowls again. He says, I want a solid watch perimeter of Dunskathak a mile out. We need to know when they come and from what direction. Choose your best remaining eyes and double them in the field. And she just kind of nods sharply. He turns to the three of you and then looks at you for a second. Then he looks over to Quill, the historian. He says, Quill, the Mephuans, I've always heard that they built elaborate subterranean structures. Have you heard or read as much? And the historian nods. He says, yes, sir, they're famous for it, in fact. And Pepperjack continues. He says, then the odds are good that we're standing on top of some. See if you can locate any entrances and investigate. We need a defensible infirmary and shelter for the non-combatants, and possibly a fallback position if the Legion attempts a siege. Natural Ones, would you accompany Quill here and see that he remains safe? I don't want the old man accidentally stepping on a hibernating bear or something.
I would just nod and sharp.
Sure.
He nods.
If I can,
Go ahead.
I'm going to speak up and say, did anybody see what happened to the old Yogg? He's mortally wounded. Did anybody see who did it to him?
The look on Pepperjack's face, you see, I would say that you don't even, need to roll for this, as this would be below passive. Specifically, because you were looking for this anyways, you see a look of disappointment, not at you, but disappointment like in himself or his own forces, basically, but clearly a look of disappointment. They kind of, his eyes kind of go downcast a little bit. He says, yeah, in the skirmish where Laredo was killed, Obo was not supposed to be fighting, and he picked up a weapon and tried to fight them off, and he was jabbed in the gut by what we expect was a diseased spear of some kind.
Of course he was. Alright, thank you. I'm just going to turn away, turn my head to the side.
Okay. He kind of nods. He says, your people are always known for being brave, so, I mean, his actions still saved many others. Then he kind of nods again and looks back to the table around the group of everybody still there, are still, looking at him at the table. He says, good. Anything else? And Astart says, where would you have us set up the barracks and our war supplies? Our forge master will need a space for repairs. And Rook says, yeah, and we need a supply room and a mess hall still. Pepperjack says, in reply, he says, Quill and Natural Ones, if you guys don't mind, while you're searching the ruins for cellar doors, can you see if you can find suitable accommodations for, we need a war forge, barracks, a supply room, a mess hall, anything of that sort. If we can build, if we can add roofs here and there around existing structures, all the better. Start, Rook, feel free to look as well. If the Wickets aren't tapped out already, call on them to fortify the walls as needed. He says, Natural Ones, any concerns that we haven't already discussed?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Kind of tilt my head and ask if there was any survey of the wild.
Yeah. When you ask that of Pepperjack, he kind of just turns and looks at Clover, and she looks at you. She says, I mean, the scouts were already taking as much stock of it as we could. We're only barely north of the Badlands, so there isn't a lot to deal with, but there are a few copses of trees around, and we found deer and some other small wildlife, rabbits, things like that. It won't feed us for long, but with that, plus what Rook has left over, we should be able to, get as much as we can out of it, maybe survive for a week.
I could probably set some traps and go from there, hunt a few of them while we're at it, after we figure out the mess hall and whatever.
She nods at you. She says, any help you can offer would be severely appreciated.
I just nod.
Pepperjack nods too. Then he says, good, okay. Clover, stay behind, please. Everybody else is dismissed. You did notice, by the way, that the kids, the two kids were in there, the Wiccans. And it didn't seem like Pepperjack noticed that they were in there, but they were in there. So you guys head out of the tent and back out into the rain. What do you want to do? Quill is with you.
Well, if we're supposed to be looking for an entrance and going in, might as well take the kids with us and see if, because we don't want any tunnels that old could potentially kill.
The kids, while that's true, you can tell they're already, since you kind of walked them around, they're pretty wiped out already. Not that they wouldn't say no, you just don't know how much, you don't know how many spell slots they have left, is what I'm saying.
Try to catch your ass. do you guys think? Or at least for the kids.
Yeah.
Do we have time to rest?
I mean, everybody is out. Like, I'm telling you, if you try to rest in this, you're not going to be able to. You won't be able to get much of a recovery. There's no shelter. You basically be trying to sleep laying in mud and having rain pour on your face.
Well, let's at least get the kids set up. So.
Oh, you mean for them? Okay.
Yeah, because I'm sure we're not going to be able to rest anyway. Norok wouldn't be able to sleep anyway because all the fucking so pissed off right now. So, but try to get the kids rested at least.
Okay.
Well, we could probably put the kids in one of the equipment, because there's a few that weren't completely full that we came in.
You mean the wagons?
Mm-hmm. I did say wagon, didn't I?
Oh, you may have. It cut out just slightly there, so you might have.
Sorry. Yeah. We could put them in the wagon Serafina and I were in.
So remember, those wagons, you totally could. Those were covered wagons as well. And I would say that you do see them there. But remember, those wagons belong to somebody. Do you remember who that was? You don't know the name because you guys never asked, but yeah, it was a shaman, exactly.
Well, from what we've seen, the Miotao take care of kids pretty well, so I don't think they'd...
They take care of Miotao kids very well. You don't know if they take care of human kids very well, but I mean, odds are good they're not going to be, especially because they're being hired by they weren't very friendly to humans generally, is how I'd say that. But they wouldn't be mean to kids necessarily. Certainly not in a war situation, and even more so because these are essentially members that they've been paid to protect. So.
If we need to, we can always go talk to the shaman if he's around, or any of the Miota. Ask if we can actually ask first. I'll do that. Ask first before we put him in there. So.
There are Miota everywhere. In fact, like every second person you see is a Miotao, because there are 3,000 soldiers, 4,500 or so remaining refugees, and then there's only about 100 Crowblinders left. So most of the people you see are the Miotao that you came with, the ones that were in Morvok. There isn't a lot left. Basically, the refugees were pretty badly wiped out. The Crowblinders is only, they weren't a huge force to begin with. They're, kind of a special elite military anyways. Anyway, so, but there are plenty of Miotao, so I mean, you can ask, and you do see the wagons are just sitting there. You don't see the shaman nearby, or Doros for that matter.
We'll just check with whoever's standing closest to him and be like, can we use one of these for these two little ones to get some rest?
Make a persuasion check, since they don't particularly like Yogg necessarily. You're talking to a group, but the only one that bothers to look up at you is an old white cow, and she's got a nasty scar like down her snout, basically down her nose. But she looks up at you and she just looks all over at the kids. She just kind of nods, doesn't say anything.
All right, then I'll help the little one up into the back of the wagon.
Okay. It's nice and dry back there. You notice that the rest of it's been taken out. It's emptied out. So whatever materials that the shaman, who you don't know the name of, had in there, it looks like he's already taken everything out. So it's basically just an empty wagon that's uncovered. But the Miotao wouldn't sleep like that. They would rather just stay in the mud because the rain doesn't seem to make any difference to them. But for little kids like that, they were happy to at least agree that you could use somebody's wagon that doesn't really belong to them. But anyway, so they hop in, and they seem thankful, although they don't show any expression at all. By the way, I would say that you guys don't. At first, when you guys first met them, you probably assumed that they seemed essentially shell shocked or something. But as long as the hours continue to pass and they haven't changed at all, you're almost wondering if this is just how they are all the time. Like, they did lose a brother, as you know, but you don't know. Like, this could be their normal features, that they're just weird kids. Also, probably Sarah would be the only one to potentially get this. Make an intelligence check on Sarah. I mean, barely. It would have been a 10, so. You recognize that it's a little bit strange, too, that they're both named Zero. And their brother, Nil, that also means Zero. Their names were, here, I'll There's a note here for you. Those are their names. Nevish and Nadir both mean 0, and so does Nil, which was their brother that died.
Oh, okay.
You just find that a little bit odd. I would say that you're probably the only one that noticed it, only because it wouldn't have been something that Arteme and Norok would have been as familiar with other languages. But those actually they're in English as well. But Nevish is Yiddish, I believe. Nadir is Arabic, and Nil means 0 in English. So, but anyway. But you found a spot for the kids to rest down. They barely even, like, they just hop in and just kind of lean over on their sides, like putting an arm under a head, and lay down and close their eyes, and they're not moving anymore. You can't tell if they're asleep, but it seemed like they were ready to knock off pretty quickly. What are you guys doing? Quill is still with you.
May as well go look for a tunnel entrance.
Yeah.
Quill nods. He says, well, I can't say I've seen one before, but at least from what I've read, they're usually in small rooms, basically. So we're looking for something that might look, like a mausoleum or anything of that sort. And then there'd be, maybe stairs or a ladder or something inside. So keep an eye out for something like that. All three of you make investigation checks. Assuming you're going to, start looking around for something like that. Okay, so you're looking for that first, by the way. You're not going to look for areas for a start for the forge and the barracks and the mess hall and the supply room. Rook and Astart were going to look for their own things anyway, so you guys don't have to. It's just up to you guys what you're doing.
Well, I try and look for, like, all of it.
Okay.
Like, just spot out things, like, map it out.
Yeah, that's fair. Sure. Go ahead and make your roll.
I thought I had, but then it just didn't go in.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, with those rolls, though, you guys notice, like, basically nothing. So, looking around, it's hard to see in the rain anyways, because it's still pouring so hard that it's almost looking through, like a sheet of water. Everything behind it is just blurry. You do see a small kind of box-style room, almost like Quill was describing, but he did spot what could be, the half of a roof, basically, of a not a large building, but what would be probably the size of like a small inn, basically, that he spotted, and the roof is caved in for about 3/4 of it. But there's, if they, hopped up there with some wood planks, they could probably put, enough structure on it to, especially with some tarp over it, to keep it from getting rained in. And he's kind of pointing that out, and he says, "Okay, well, if you guys want to look at that building there, I'll be back in just a minute. I'm just going to go let Astart know and Rook so that they can start building this one out if they want to."
I just nod. If Sai's helping me look, would she be under my role, or would she have her...
If you were sending her specifically to go look, because you can, especially since she's a familiar now, you can actually use her eyes. I mean, you can look through hers instead of your own, but it makes you blind while you do it.
Okay. Well, because it'd be easier for her to move around, so I'd ask her to go look.
Sure. I mean, she sinks into the mud pretty quick, just because, it's basically like up to her belly almost. But, I mean, you could still use her to scout around, unless if you wanted to change her into a bird, but it'd take you an hour to do that.
No.
Okay. But you guys, looking around, you guys do find the mausoleum just fine. Quill found found a room, basically, that they could use potentially as like a supply room or a mess hall, that kind of thing. But the mausoleum space that he pointed out to you guys is basically, a 10-foot or so square. It's really, really tiny. It's basically like a little bit bigger than like an outhouse would be. Like it's not large at all, except it's made of stone, and it still has a roof on it, mostly because it is so small. But that's the one that he pointed out to you guys. You guys heading over to check it out?
Yeah. Try the door, if there is a door.
Well, so you actually come around to Sarah and Norok. You guys going too?
Cut out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of look around as we go, make sure nothing's moving.
Okay. Make perception checks. You don't see anything moving. It all looks pretty dead and still. But with that roll, Arteme, I would say just because of the proficiency and some familiarity with this, there are very light prints, but there are prints, and they're hard to read. They don't look like an animal or anything. They don't look like anything you would recognize, I guess is how I'd say that. There are prints in the mud that are very difficult to pick out only because of how rainy it is and how muddy it is, like most of it's been washed away. But there are prints that look like they've led in and out of this this mausoleum, like doorway, a lot. And there's no door there, by the way. The door is smashed in. There's basically, you got like a big stone box, and where the door would be, the door is long, like probably hundreds and hundreds of years ago, fallen in or been smashed in, and is basically laying on the stone floor inside of it. So you've got 3 walls basically and a roof, and then where the door is just crushed on the inside.
Okay.
Is it dark in there?
It's very dark. It's pitch black.
I'm gonna send in dancing light.
Okay. It illuminates. Go ahead, Fox.
Oh, I used my light spell too.
Okay. As you guys are doing this and looking around, Quill comes back. He kind of steps in behind you. He says, "Oh, well, I mean, this kind of looks like what I was thinking of." He says, "I mean, I bet we'll find a way down in there." You do notice, by the way, that when he came back, he has a sword on his hip now.
Oh, okay.
He says, "Well, what are we waiting for?"
Go.
Let's go.
All right. You guys step inside. It is a very tiny room. Let me dim these a little bit. It is just itty bitty on the inside. Whoops. Yeah, that'll work. There we go. Here, I'll just share you the map here. There you go. I haven't dropped you guys on the map yet, so give me just a second. But basically, you see the door is smashed in and all over the floor. It's basically, all stone. Everything is stone except for this bits of old petrified wood. But it's not very big. Like, it is a really small little room. I gotta make Sarah small again now. Oop. And Quill, this isn't a great token for him. He's not like a stuffy noble, but there's Quill for you. And let's get Sai. There you go. All right. So you're in basically a tiny little mausoleum room. Very enough, not very much space, but there are 3 doors, basically one each direction. So one to the north, one to the west, one to the east.
I'm gonna go check out this door.
One second here. The doors, even from just general appearance, are extremely old and heavy. And they look like they've pretty much been kind of stuck into, yeah, there we go, stuck in place just from being so unmoved, I guess, for so long and so weather beaten, because that front door has been smashed, so these doors have swelled and then receded and everything every time it's rained for 1,600 years or so. Checking that door. Let's see. There is a doorknob, but when you go to turn it, it's like frozen in place, and what looks like where the key would go, it's like it's an L shape, which is very strange. You haven't really seen one like that before. It's not that anybody couldn't make it that way. It just seems odd. Like, why would anybody do it that way? Quill kind of looks over and he sees it as well. He says, I've seen Luciavelli's drawings of these. On his old treatises on the Mephuans. It's kind of an interesting mechanism. I wonder if they still function if we find the key. This is who he mentioned. Sarah, you definitely know that name. You've read books by him before.
Okay, so what kind of key?
I mean, at least the pictures I've seen of them, it's shaped just like that. It's basically an L shape. I mean, they look odd for sure.
Okay, so looking around the room, is there anything, cubbyhole, anything?
Make investigation checks. Whoever is looking around.
Since my door is locked.
All I heard, Becky, was since my door is locked. Did you say something else?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just gonna look since my door's locked and I can't open it.
Okay. Both Sarah and Arteme, you guys, Sarah, since you checked that door, you kind of glance over, around Norok to the other door on the far side, and see that one similarly has a lock, but the one that Arteme is standing in front of does not have a lock on it.
Okay, so I open the door.
You try the doorknob, and the doorknob is similarly frozen in place, even though there's no lock on it, but it doesn't feel like it's locked, it just feels like it's, stuck. Like that door's been there forever, and it's just been, swells with the rain, and then, it's essentially turned to stone by now. Petrified wood style.
Okay, so I'll ask Norik or Quill to try opening.
Quill looks up at you, Norok. He says, that's probably your wheelhouse, big guy. I haven't heard you say anything, G. Are you muted? I haven't heard you say anything for a while.
So. No. Nope.
There we go. You lit up. Say something. You're lighting up, but I'm not hearing you.
He's gonna turn them off, turn them back on.
Okay. Nope. Still picking you up from Becky's side, just a tiny, tiny bit.
You're hardwired in. I don't know why it's not working.
Yeah, I didn't even see him light up at all that whole time while he was back on. And you're not, laggy at all either, Becky. Usually if it's latency, if it's network latency, then both of you start getting a little bit robotic. So you're lighting up, and I'm hearing you slightly from it, but it's like the mic isn't picking you up. Yeah, because I'm hearing you through Becky still, but Discord is working, or at least it looks normal. It just seems like the mic isn't picking you up, like you're muted, like the headset mic is muted. Do you have another headset you can try?
I've got a wired one he can try if he needs it.
Give that a shot, see if it'll at least go for now. It's weird because, it's still, Discord is still picking you up occasionally. It's just, it's so quiet that it seems like you're muted, but Discord still hears it a little bit. It's odd.
Do you want these buttons? And I'll take... Oh, no.
It almost sounds like the mic is up on top of his head. Oh, hang on. Say something, G?
That's coming from the laptop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm hearing myself now.
Yeah, he's got new headphones on, and he's lighting up, but there's no sound.
Playing from the laptop, right? Oh yeah, it definitely is.
Okay.
When he closed out of Discord, did he just close out of the voice part and then rejoin voice, or did he actually close Discord completely?
He closed the whole thing. He's gonna restart
Okay.
everything.
Let's take a quick break then while he's doing that. Fox, do you want to take 5 minutes?
Sure.
All right, be back in a minute.
Eh,
Anybody back?
Can you hear me now?
Yep. What'd you have to do?
I just restarted the computer.
Okay. Okay, I see you connected. Cool.
Is it raining down there right now?
It actually just stopped. It was raining for quite a while though. Like the backyard's all fucking muddy now.
Yeah.
The dogs don't like going outside when it's raining like that.
Sounds like one of ours. The other one doesn't care though.
Harold doesn't mind it as much. He always hated it when he was really little. But he doesn't, like, he'd rather it not be, but he'll still go out there if he has to. But Esther will pretty much just sit on the porch. She won't go out from the overhang where it's raining. Spoiled little
Domino
dog.
could spend all day in the rain. She'd be happy.
Yeah, it's funny, of the two of them, I would expect that, you know, of Esther. I would, because she's way more adventurous, I would think she would want to go out and play in the rain just like Domino then. But she doesn't like it. Spoiled baby. I'll probably have to build a dog run for them or something once I move up there. So that she doesn't have to be in the rain. Did it expire? I think it must have expired or something because it just kicked back up for everybody, including my recording session. Oh. Or is Fox back?
Almost.
Okay.
My water's just boiling for tea.
Oh, okay. It popped up on my side like the ready check was done, so. Okay.
Oh, I haven't hit it yet. I'll be right back. My water's almost boiled.
You're fine.
Weird Canadian tea.
Yeah, with all the extra dirt in it.
Probably has moose parts in it.
It's Molson tea. For Sarah too, you casted Mage Armor at the start of that fight with the mage at the battle, right? At that big battle, wasn't that when you put it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right before.
So yeah, and it's an 8-hour anyway, so that was around midnight. So you still have it for quite a while. Oh, I forgot about that. Fox used up. Oh shit, that's not good. Fox used up like all of her spell slots. She's got 1 3rd level slot left, and that's it. How's Sarah on spell slots here? Not good either.
Nope.
2 first and 1 second.
Nope. And 3 sorcery points.
Oh yeah, I always forget about those. Okay, so 3 you can make a 2nd level spell slot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you used up all your healing potions. Arteme has 3 healing potions. But you still have your ring, and the ring's fully charged.
Yeah.
And Norik has 2 healing potions too. Okay, well you guys still have some resources.
Yeah, and I'm at full health right now too.
How are these guys? Yeah, everybody's full health, yeah. Arteme topped everybody off with the last healing spear she cast, if I remember right.
And we do have inspiration too.
Yeah, you guys did good with your creative role playing through that war camp stuff.
I'm back.
Okay. Then, yeah, so where we were at, you guys had seen that the eastern and western doors both have weird little L-shaped locks that Quill had reported are Mephuin in design. But the northern door, the one that Norik is standing in front of, does not have a lock on it. It's just stuck in place. So, what are you guys doing?
Alright, I'm gonna see if I can... The door's jam. I'll see if I can just try to push it open. Like put my shoulder into it and push it open.
Okay. Make a strength check with disadvantage, because it's kind of frozen in place from 1,600 years of not moving. Well, presumably. That's as much as you guys know. Remember, you guys. Well, Arteme, unless you said something, you're the only one that potentially notices that there were tracks coming in and out of here.
Oh, I would have probably mentioned it just so people could be on their.
Okay. I will tell you too that the tracks that you saw, they were very thin and, again, kind of damaged by all of the rain. But the tracks you saw didn't look like feet or paws. They looked like the bottom of a tree. They looked like if you took a tree, and like a small tree, and yanked it out of the dirt, and then kind of stamped it on the ground. That's what it looked like.
Okay.
So like a weird splayed out, post almost. Certainly very strange. Yeah, G, you throw your shoulder into the door as hard as you can, and it doesn't budge. You basically just hit a stone wall is what it felt like.
Do you still have disadvantage?
No, it was disadvantaged because it's rocky, because it's basically petrified wood. What are you doing?
Alright. Hang on, I'm trying to resize the map here. Got it all messed up.
Okay.
Shit.
I'm not any good with doors. I'm way too weak to move that.
Quill says, I mean, there's got to be a way down here. This, if I could guess, based on the outside of it, there's probably going to be ladders or stairs or something, and it's going to go down sharply, but we just got to get through these doors, and then hopefully we can find a safe place to get the wounded in.
Alright, so there was no lock on it, it's just the door was wedged.
Yeah. There is a doorknob, it just doesn't turn. And the door just, it feels like it's just solid in place. Like it just has been there forever. There's a small gap underneath all three doors. But that's it.
Would I be able to use destroy water to take the water out of the door?
I don't know if that would really, maybe. I mean, it is swollen right now because of the rain. But, let's see. Up to 10 gallons, the door definitely doesn't have 10 gallons worth of water in it. I would say that if you did do that, which, I mean, you don't have any first level, you'd have to use a third level slot to do that.
My last slot, period.
Yeah, it would be.
But hey, if it gets us in, I don't.
Well, if there's a gap under the door, if there's something that we could find to like wedge up under it, one of the little people could try to wedge that, like with a stick or something, or a piece of wood, and I'll try to run and see if I can knock the door down, open, with some assistance.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's about a half-inch gap underneath. I mean, if you had something like a crowbar or something like that, you could probably use it to at least, jimmy the door, like, open enough that you could probably give it a better shoulder check to try to break through it.
Could I use like a blade or
I have a
the end
crowbar.
of my quarterstaff?
Not big enough for the quarterstaff. A knife probably wouldn't be a long enough lever. Like, just looking at it, it would, even a decent, length sword, you wouldn't be able to get much of a lever on it. You'd need, like, a curved end of it, like a crowbar.
I have a crowbar if somebody wants to use it.
Oh, you have one?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay.
Little burgling noblewoman.
That's right, you never know what you're gonna need.
You need to break into a rival noble's house and steal all their money. You need a crowbar.
That's right.
Okay, well, I'll help him.
Okay. Noark, you're going to try to pry the door?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
gonna run and see if I can smash into it after it's been lifted.
Okay. Make a, with Artemis' help, she'll be assisting, make another strength check, this time with advantage, to try to kind of jostle the door loose a little bit. Okay. You are kind of with the pry bar underneath it. Basically, it's not moving, but you feel like if you were to put weight on it, you could probably get, basically if you step on the crowbar after getting it up under there, you could probably get it to wiggle loose.
Okay. We need to try.
Give it an athletics check for kind of smashing into the door to try to break it open. And if not that, then you guys are going to have to break it. That's basically your last shot. There you go. With your proficiency, well, it's only a 3 difference for your proficiency, but with the crowbar underneath it and kind of holding it up just a little bit, you just step back 10 feet and just rush through and smash into it with your shoulder, and it doesn't open all the way, but it breaks in through the middle enough that it's kind of split through the center. So as soon as you kind of stand back, you can just push with one hand on either side. You basically just push the 2 halves of the door, this broken split down the middle door, off to either side. Enough to reveal what's behind it there. All 3 of you notice this immediately because this is very loud, and as soon as that splitting noise happens, there's something that stirs in the darkness beyond the doorway there. It's pitch black. You can't. Well, actually, sorry. You guys have light in front of you now. A dim green light that flares up in the distance, like down some stairs and around a corner. Illuminates a very sharply descending staircase, extremely sharply, like each step is 1.5 feet tall. It's a very short staircase in front of you, with this really steep decline that it's so uncomfortable even that it's really would be almost be like climbing down more than walking down each step. So much so, in fact, actually, Sarah will have to sit down on each step and then climb down to the next one, and then so on, because she can't walk down it, just because of how awkwardly shaped they are. But let me get mask mode back on here, and I'll reveal the staircase for you. There we go. There is a set of stairs, extremely sharply leading down like that. And then there's green light coming from around the corner, to the right. And the green light lit up as soon as you guys smashed the door open. Like you smashed it, and then, a couple seconds later the green light turned on. And it's flickering. It looks like fire, but green.
Oh, might as well go in.
Yep.
Carefully?
Quill nods. He says, yeah, definitely carefully. I don't like the look of that light.
All right.
So go ahead.
It's from the west, you said?
The light actually is coming from right here, to your right. But
Okay.
coming up and looking around the corner there, you can see that a hallway opens up to the right and to the left. And actually, there's more green light coming from the left as well, where the hallway goes down a little bit further. And then to your left, there's a door. So the hallway actually goes down until it's collapsed. There's a part where it's all collapsed and broken in, and then there's a door right there on the left. Actually, there's 2. Sorry, there's one door. You guys can just barely see them, I'm sure, but I'll just draw a little circle for you. Or a little. You see that red? No, that's probably not big enough. Hang on. There is a door there, and another door there. You guys see those?
Yeah.
The little
Okay.
arrow?
The
Or
arrows.
the-
The arrows are pointing at doors. Both of them are.
Oh, okay, I only see
So they're
one.
both to the south.
Okay,
Yeah, they're
so
both on the
other
south
one,
wall.
gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I had to move the map a bit.
So when I look over to the east, to the right, that light, does it look like it's moving or anything?
It's flickering. It looks like green fire. And there's
So
one.
it's-
There's one to the left as well.
So it just seems like it's a makeshift torch kind of thing, or does it seem like it's alive?
It looks like a regular sconce in a wall would look, except it's just the fire's green. That's all.
Okay.
It does not look like it's alive. No.
All right. Then
At
I'm going-
least in so much as it looks like it's just regular green. It looks like fire rather, just green.
gonna give a listen in at this door. Oh, hang
Uh,
on, let me turn myself.
I was
So I'm
gonna
not
say
facing the
there's
wrong
no
way.
door on that one, and then I remembered I realized you meant the one on the south. Make a perception check. Quill comes in and kind of looks around this corner here. Like he's clearly like this is heaven to him. Like this is excavating an ancient. Well, you guys can't see this because he can, but I'll reveal that hallway as well. There's more doors on that side.
Oh, okay.
You rolled really highly. It's silent in there. You don't hear any noise there. Where's my mouse?
Can I borrow size hearing?
Yeah, I mean, so anytime you want to do that, it takes an action to do it, but you can basically use her senses, but you are blind and deaf when you're doing that. So Arteme can't hear or see anything and is potentially very vulnerable, but she can use size features anytime she chooses to.
Okay, I would do that just to see if I could hear anything, because she would definitely have better hearing than any of.
Okay. Then make a use your own stats for this, but make a perception check with Arteme with advantage because she has keen hearing and smell. I think both.
Yeah.
She sniffs underneath the door, that same door that Norok is at, and she kind of she stands back up. Basically, you're the one observing this, but sniffs at it. It smells like the room is like not occupied. She doesn't smell anything in there. It smells like it's an empty room.
Okay. What about hearing?
Doesn't hear anything either.
I'll move on to the next one.
Okay. That one, same thing. Go ahead and make another check. Let's see. That one. When you do this, and her reaction is, you're the one using her senses, of course, but her reaction is like she kind of like crinkles her nose up, like there's something that she doesn't like the smell of in there. It smelled to you acrid. It smelled like sulfurous or acidic almost.
Okay.
But didn't hear
where were the
anything.
other?
What's that?
Where were the other doors?
You can barely, like, if you look closely, you can kind of tell. Basically, you would see, if you look at the two that I just pointed the arrows at, you see how,
Yeah.
they're subtle, but there's one
Okay.
there, and then I think she's in front of one right there too,
Yeah.
and then there's one here. That one. Hang on, I gotta check my version of the map here. Similarly, she smells like kind of an acrid, acidic smell from there.
Okay.
Same. Basically, the only room of these that she's checked, yeah, especially with advantage, like you rolled 25, 24, 18, like you had really high rolls on these. All the doors she's checked, except for the one that Norok is standing in front of, have kind of a, like a vinegary kind of a smell, basically.
Okay. So I'll drop the incantation or whatever.
Okay.
And just say the rooms seem empty, but some of them have a really awful.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that, like, it would be choking or anything like that. Like, she could still breathe just fine. It just smelled gross.
Okay.
But this is, a ruin that has been locked up for, 1,600 years, so it could just be mold and rot, that kind of stuff.
True.
What
I'll
are you guys
just warn them anyway.
doing? Okay.
Want to test the room that... Oh, yeah, I'll slowly open the door to the room that I'm facing.
Okay.
The one that doesn't
All
look
right.
around.
The one that doesn't have a smell to it.
Yeah.
That one is... There it is. You open the door. You guys still have your dancing lights and
Light, yes.
light? Okay. That room, when you look in, doesn't have any other light source. So the only light in there is what's being spilled through the doorway by your guys' lights. Basically, there's green flame along the hallway behind you, so there's a little bit of that. But beyond that, the only light that's pouring in is from the outside. There's no light on the inside. But the room looks surprisingly clean. Like the most of this place, like there's rubble and little pebbles and things like that all over the floor, like from 1,600 years worth of occasional earthquakes and things like that, where bits of this place have started to fall apart. But this room actually looks a little bit clean inside. There's not a lot of pebbles and stuff like that on the floor. It basically looks like it's been swept almost, compared to the rooms and the halls you've seen so far. The floor isn't covered in dust. There's no cobwebs in the corners, things like that. All that's in the room, though, is there's a coiled green braided rope that is pulled up on the floor near an alcove on the west wall. Okay, let me go back into mask mode again and I'll reveal that. I think there's a hotkey I need to figure out what that is to go in and out of mask mode because I need it from time to time. There you go. So on the map there where that sword is, that's actually a coiled up green rope.
If I take a look at it, does it look magical?
Go ahead and make an Arcana check. Assuming you're not using detect magic, right? You're just checking. Yeah. It doesn't appear to be. It looks like a coiled. In fact, actually, now that you're closer, go ahead and make an investigation check. If you're actually looking at it, you know, close enough. Have you touched it or no?
No.
Okay.
I learned my lesson with touching things.
Well, you have half of a hand. It does not look to be magic at all. It looks, at first it looked like a coiled up green rope, but now that you see it closer, there's a handle. It looks like it's actually a whip. It's a coiled up whip. And it looks like there's something underneath it, by the way, because the coils are, you know, coiled up like a rope essentially, and there's something beneath it in the middle.
Can I kick it with my foot?
Yeah, I mean you can kick it, kick the rope away. Yeah, it looks like a really nice. Like as soon as you've kicked it with your foot, it doesn't react. It doesn't look magical. It doesn't look like there was no response. Basically, it seemed fine. But you push it away, and the beneath it is a key. It's an L-shaped key.
Alright, well I'm gonna grab the key, and then if anybody wants to try to pick up the whip, they're more than welcome to.
I'd grab the whip.
Okay. You pick it up. You're grabbing the handle, I assume, right?
Yes.
Okay. Where did my note go for that? You grab the handle of it and kind of begin to uncoil it a little bit, and it feels very well made. It feels like an exceptionally crafted piece of equipment here. Let me share you the note for it real quick. There you go. Did that pop up on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Then you can read what it does and everything there.
Kind of popped up, but there's no writing.
I'll go ahead and identify it for you because it's not a magic item. I had it unidentified, but it won't really matter. Can you see it now? Does it have the data in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just read the first paragraph. Tell me when you're
Ooh,
done.
nice.
So,
I want to keep this.
So it feels like a very sturdy and exceptionally made whip, but you notice that as soon as you kind of you try to pull your hand off of it to let go of it to kind of adjust your grip to hold it in a better spot so that you can give it a couple of test snaps. And when you go to pull your hand off of it, it's just slightly sticky. Like it's not sticky, like there's no liquid on it. It's not viscous. But when you pull your hand away from it, it's almost like it just like your hand is sticking to it, like it's like a dry glue of some kind almost. It doesn't impede you from taking it off. It doesn't feel like you'd ever not be able to pull your hand away. It's just kind of an annoyance. You feel like you definitely wouldn't be able to throw this or anything, but it seems like the longer you hold on to this, the harder it's going to be to take it out of your hand. And the handle itself seems like it's made from like insect parts. It's made of like a chitinous, like an insect shell, like a chitinous bone, essentially.
Okay.
But it's basically a long braided green rope, essentially like a whip-made rope with a little stinger at the end of it.
Well, I'll keep it on me for now. I'll probably find something to put on the hand.
Sure. All right. Let me drop that in your inventory for you so that you have it in case you want to use it here. Make sure it showed up on your actions. It did. Cool. I need to add the second part for it too. So for the second part of that, you know which part I'm talking about, Fox? The 1d4 part?
Sort of.
I'll need
Is it gonna go in my weapons? Or?
Yeah, so if you scroll up, you'll see the braided green lash at the top there.
I don't see it.
At the very top. It's up in your weapons. All the way at the top.
Yeah, I'm looking all the way at the top, and the first one is a...
Click off of your actions tab and then come back to it, see if it shows up. The very top one of your weapons should be the braided green lash.
Nope, I clicked off of it and back onto it, and it's still not.
I see it there, so... Alright, well, we'll give it a minute. It'll probably just take a second to sync up. No problem.
Okay.
But you guys have the key, and you found that, that whip.
You guys want to check out the other rooms first? Before we try the key?
Yeah, might as well check all the room.
I don't mind.
Okay, where are you guys going? Quill has pulled out a book, by the way, and he's kind of jotting down notes and little drawings and things like that. Checking that door?
Since he is, I'm not going to.
Okay.
Because normally I make a map.
Yeah, he says, sorry, miss, I mean, I'm just used to this. This is kind of, you know, what I get paid to do.
I just shrug. Because there's no point in having two of them, right? We could just recopy it later.
He says, I mean, yeah, you can copy my notes, I don't mind. Just gotta promise if you find anything cool that I don't see that you'd let me know about it too. Sound good?
It's not. Yep.
Alright, Sarah's trying that door over there?
Yeah.
Okay. You grab the door, and this one similarly feels like they all feel basically pretty swollen, but the ones that were most affected, of course, were the ones that were exposed to the elements, since that front door had been smashed down. So this door definitely feels like it'll be hard to open, but you can go ahead and give it a shot. It's not locked. It does feel like you'll be able to, you know, with some elbow grease, but let's just see how much elbow grease Sarah has.
Alright, so... What am I doing? Strength check?
Yeah, strength check. Hey, alright. You grab the doorknob, and as soon as you go to twist it, it actually breaks off in your hand. The doorknob snaps off of this because it's just old rusted iron. But the the twist of it was enough that the door has kind of popped ajar. So if you just kind of push on it, it'll probably pop open the rest of the way.
Alright. Take a look inside.
All right. Then you pop the door open, and there is green light coming from in here as soon as the door opens. Another of those green kind of flame braziers flares open. There's another door across the way. The room has rubble where the northwest corner is collapsed in. That is D. Where's D? Doesn't appear to be much of interest in this room, except for that glowing green brazier in the east wall and that rubble in the northwest corner. And then there's a small wooden crate that's in the southwest corner. It's all aged and broken, like smashed in pieces.
There's nothing in it.
From here, you can't really tell. You'll need to go inside.
You said southeast corner?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, right there.
Alright. Take a look inside.
Okay. You kind of walk up towards this wooden crate in the corner there, and you instantly feel something is slightly off. But I would say that specifically approaching it to try to look in there, go ahead and make a dex save, but it's going to be with disadvantage.
Man. Not gonna go well. Oh no.
You reached down, you get close to this thing and reach down to kind of push some of the wood away, like to with your left hand, of course, to kind of push the broken bits of wood away. And where your hand touches it, it sticks to it. It's stuck to like it's like glue. Far worse than that whip was. You didn't touch the whip, but your hand is like stuck to this, and you go to pull the lid away because it looks like it's a separate lid. Like you should be able to just lift it off, although it would be stuck to your hand. But you go to pull the hand away, and a wide grin appears in the base of the box itself, and you see this opening, almost where the lid would be essentially, begins to sprout these teeth, and this long toothy maw spits out of it. This long toothy, like its tongue covered in these little razor sharp spines, whips out from the inside of the box and snaps around your wrist and starts to try to pull your hand inside this box. I think it's a dex check. Let me see here.
I'm not losing another hand.
From now on, you probably just don't touch anything at all. That's probably the way to go. Go ahead and give me initiative. Does Fox know what's she's seeing here? Or is this all a mystery to Fox?
I don't know what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Hey, did you share an image?
No, well, I haven't yet, but I just put it in the combat tracker. I just wasn't sure if you knew what that was or not.
Oh, mimic.
You ever heard of a mimic before?
Sort of. Is it like a copycat or a ditto?
Not exactly. It's basically a creature that can appear as anything else, a shape-shifting style creature.
That's what they are.
Okay. Yeah, and they kind of lay in as in traps essentially. So I did forgot to have a combat one on here. Let me find one real quick. There we go. This will work. Hang on, this might be loud. Nope, good. I didn't know which one it was going to be, but that'll work. Alright. Let's see. So your hand is stuck to it. You are immediately considered grappled by the thing there. Was that okay? That's psi is a 10 then. There you go. And the bite attempt on Sarah. Actually, well, shit, he gets advantage because you're grappled, actually, so. But you got a natural 1 anyway, so never mind. He does not successfully get the bite, but basically he tried to, the tongue kind of snaps around your wrist and tries to pull your hand into the jaw, and you kind of keep yanking your arm away while it's still stuck to this lid. But he did not successfully get your hand away. It's your turn.
Stuck here, so we're just gonna try to firebolt.
There we go.
Or
Not
not.
too loud. Not with that. Any bonus actions?
No, I'm gonna wait.
Okay. Artemis' turn. Artemis, you have seen this. There was a wooden crate in the corner that Sarah tried to very carefully approach, that her hand stuck to, and then it turned into something to try to bite her.
Okay. I'm gonna go over here and use my quarterstaff to knock.
Okay. Go ahead and make target it and then make an attack. Do you remember how to do it with a weapon?
Yep.
Okay. Natural 20. You regenerate half your level rounded up in HP for a round for 1d6 rounds. Well, okay. I don't know how narratively that would make any sense, but your full health won't matter for right now. But for the next 6 rounds, if you get hurt, you'll be regenerating a small amount of HP during that. So anyway, go ahead and roll your damage.
Okay.
Oh, because it was a crit, duh. Okay, so you whack this, all of a sudden animated chest with this mouth and razor tongue across the top of the lid, basically, where Sarah's hand is stuck to it. It seems like it kind of knocked it back, and the tongue kind of snaps away from her wrist and starts kind of turning towards you a little bit. Is that it for your turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Norik's turn.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I'm assuming I heard all the action, so...
Yeah, I mean, assuming that Sarah yelped, then you probably heard that and jumped in.
And heard Artemis smash something.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, Sarah was
Alright.
probably cussing up a storm.
What are you trying, G?
Gonna rage first. Which I think it was already making those noises anyway.
It was making that because Sarah was grappled.
Okay, that's what.
Now,
Let's see if I can.
if you're gonna be swinging potentially at where Sarah's hand is, so don't roll low.
Okay.
You have advantage on the attack anyway, so that's gonna help as much as you can get.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can hit it with my axe.
Yeah, because Sarah would not appreciate having her other hand cut off. Right
Yeah.
now, too.
I will firebolt you so hard if you cut off my hand.
What it's making me think of is the angry chest, which is a mini action.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, the mini in Guild Wars. That's exactly that's where that came
Okay.
from. Like mimics have been around since 1974 or whatever, like during the inception. So it's they've been around forever, but that's where Guild Wars copied it from. Yep, that hits, and that's plenty high enough to not accidentally cut into Sarah's fingers.
Sweet. Ah,
Rolled really
kind of
shitty,
crap
though.
was it?
Yeah, but with a 16 modifier because a Great Weapon Master, so still good damage.
Yeah.
You cleave the axe head down into the lid of this, basically, enough that Sarah's hand is like broken. Like the part where it's broken, basically, Sarah's hand is only stuck to a smaller piece of it because it cleaved in through the wood and down into the tongue. It was severely wounded for sure. It's still very much alive, but definitely was badly hurt. You're gonna make your extra attack.
Yeah.
Okay, that hits as well. Hang on, you don't get reckless on more than one, do you?
No, that's only on the first.
Oh, that's the
But
advantage on you. Yeah, you had it right.
Yeah.
It was the grand advantage for you. Go ahead.
A little better. Oh, much better.
All right, you cleave it on in a second strike, just straight down through the same hole that you'd already made, basically. When the axe blade goes through it, the lid that Sarah's hand is stuck to starts to kind of liquefy in her hand and fall off until there's basically a puddle of this kind of viscous, glimmering liquid on the floor. It's not in a box shape anymore, but inside of this kind of glimmering liquid, this vibrant liquid that is just getting the kind of green light shimmering from there and the light orbs that are floating around. It's reflecting off of this liquid, and underneath it, like inside of this liquid, are coins strewn across the floor, gold coins.
I'm already gross, so I'll grab it.
Okay, you're grabbing the coins.
Yeah.
Okay. It is amongst them. Shit, it's only 10. I got a 1, a 3, and a 6, but still 10 gold, better than you had.
Cool.
Do you remember how to add it, Becky?
Yeah. Nope, wrong one.
And, this all happened so fast, of course, that Quill has just basically rushed in and is looking through the doorway as soon as this, as soon as Norak has kind of cleaved through the last hit of this thing. He says, what happened? What was that?
Killer boxes in here.
You see a recognition kind of cross his features. He says, shapeshifter?
Yep.
Yeah, I've always heard that they tend to like Mephuan ruins because they like the underground. So we should probably be careful because we can expect to see more.
Yeah, I'm not touching anything anymore. Y'all have fun.
All right, what are you guys doing?
Well, I'd say if you guys want to, take the key back and carry on, because.
There's another door. There's another door right there behind Arteme as well.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, you can do both. Like, it doesn't matter. It's up to you guys.
Sure, might as well check it out.
All
I'd
right.
prefer get a layout before going to unlock the other door.
All right. You're gonna try that door then? You guys are beside.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one is not locked either. There's no L-shaped lock or anything. But when you open the door here, similarly to the one you just opened, across the way from you, another green brazier lights up. Make perception checks, all three of you. I guess who opened the door? Was it Arteme?
Yep.
Okay. Since you were looking through the door when you opened it, Arteme, make yours with advantage, since you didn't roll already.
Sorry, you cut out there.
Roll your perception check. Roll it with advantage, because you're the
Oh.
one that's actually in the door looking through it. Okay. You're the only one that notices this, but out of the corner of your eye, as soon as the light from your guys' light spills in and the green brazier lights up, you catch out of the corner of your eye in this room, there's an old dusty white feather that is being waved through the air, And then all of you hear an echoing whisper from some, like it sounds like an arcane incantation. And the incantation finishes, and you hear the whisper continue as if it's telling a joke in an old, very strange dialect of Indian. And it says, a blind woman walks into a bar, and then a chair, and then a table. And you hear a sweeping sound like a broom that's being dragged across to, like the pebblestone floor in here. In the distance, to the south, basically to the right, to your right, which would be the southwest of the map. And then the sound is gone. All three of you make wisdom saves. For what you see in the room, by the way, there's a table in the room, and then a door on the west, and then there's stairs on the east.
Okay.
Wisdom saves not good. Okay. You guys, well, so specifically Sarah and Norok are racked with just hideous laughter at this stupid joke. Each of you keel over, just slapping your knees and laughing hysterically, just unceasingly, and like hard to breathe. You're laughing so hard. Both Norok and Sarah, you guys collapse into a raucous fit, just prone on the floor. Norok, you laugh. Sarah, you laugh. And Sai laughs. And then the table laughs. And give me another initiative.
It's like Beauty and the Beast.
Let me grab this.
I was just looking at that spell yesterday.
Were you? You know what? I would say that Sarah could potentially have recognized it also. So if you want to make an Arcana check on Sarah, then she'll know what the spell was.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this one.
Oh.
Yep, for sure. Natural 20. It is Hideous Laughter was the spell, and specifically you and Norok found that stupid joke so hysterical that you are both knocked prone, and at the end... Oh, we have to come back to the beginning of the turn order here. You both, at the end of your turn, and then anytime you take damage, I think is what it is, I'll check again, then you guys will have the... If you assuming you want to try to roll it again, you basically get to try to break it, and then you could stand up and have your turn, but otherwise you'll just be spending your turns laughing. There you go. I didn't make individual tokens for all of these, so they'll all, well, not all. I shouldn't have said it that way. But basically, for any others you may find, how about that? They'll probably still be that one with a couple of exceptions. But anyways, in the room there, the table is chuckling and laughing as well, because it's also affected. It's not moving, but the table is laughing. And Arteme, you see the middle of the table split open, and there's a toothy smile in the middle of it. What are you doing?
Okay. Hit it with my staff again?
Okay.
It seemed to be effective last time.
With another natural 20? So, I don't think we're going to be able to call you guys a natural ones if you keep rolling natural 20s. No special effect, but decent damage though. Alright, you didn't have him targeted, so let me drop that on him real quick. You're fine. There we go. Okay, any bonus actions?
I'm just gonna move away.
Okay.
Leave the others to come in. Oh,
Well,
wait,
you're
that's the
blocking.
door.
Yeah, you're blocking the door now,
There we
anyways.
go.
But there you go. Because he's laughing, he won't get an opportunity attack. Otherwise, he would have an opportunity attack against you.
Right.
Quill was not affected. He was too far away there. Sai is also laughing. Sarah, go ahead. Oh, I guess Sai gets to make the check again. So make a Wisdom save on. Well, I'll just do it from her stats here because you don't have a sheet for her, huh?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't.
She got a 9. It is not enough to beat it. So, Sarah's turn. Make a Wisdom save.
Wisdom is my worst one. Should be smarter.
That is not going to do it. Alright, the Mimic gets to try. Alright, the Mimic succeeds. It then, seeing that it potentially has some food, a food source in here, it starts to waddle, like you see the table legs waddle, picking up one side and then the other over towards Arteme, kind of pinning Arteme in the corner here. And Arteme, one of the table legs kind of liquefies and reaches out and smacks you in the side of the head, or tries to smack you in the side of the head. Rolled really shitty, so no it doesn't. So it's going to try with the other. Jesus! Oh no, that one hit. Okay, I got a 14. Alright. Not doing much, but where the pseudopod smacked you in the side of the head, it's stuck to the side of your head. So you now have like a table leg, like a liquefied table leg stuck to the side of your head. You are considered grappled by it as well. So you can't get away from it, basically, and it has advantage when it tries to attack you. Alright, Norok's turn. Go ahead and make a wisdom save, G. Hey, you beat it. Alright, so you are able to stand up. It'll take half your movement, and then you have your full turn. Gee, I'm not hearing you again.
Is it better?
There we go. Alright, good.
Okay.
Cool. I was afraid it had broken again.
Alright. Then I'm going to see. Has it been a minute since we did that last thing? Probably has been about a minute, huh? So my range
Well,
would've dropped.
I dropped it off of you because I didn't really think about how quickly you guys would be coming in there, but it's probably still within the minute. I mean, unless you guys stood around for a minute, after that thing, pulled up. But it didn't take Sarah very long to gather coins, so I'd say you still have your rage. Go ahead and put it back on, but don't count off another rage, because I think it'd still be close enough.
Cool. Then I'm gonna see if I can hit the little shapeshifter dude.
Okay.
So, put my stuff up.
Do you recognize this one, G?
This is a little kid Final Fantasy one that I can remember.
Yep, Mystic Quest.
Yeah. It was actually still a fun game.
Yeah, it was.
I was almost gonna ask if it was a Mega Man.
It kind of sounds like that. It does have a very 8-bit kind of a sound. It's actually a 16-bit game, but it hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. You know what? Actually, it sounds a lot like Mega Man X. Now that she says that,
It's true.
it does.
That's good shit.
Like the intro theme from Mega Man X.
I don't think I had X, I just had one of the regular ones, but it still sounds like it.
The themes are probably pretty similar, but the 16-bit Mega Man X actually does very much sound like that MIDI version of guitar. Not this part, but the other part.
Yeah.
Good hit. All right, you're gonna make your second attack.
Yeah.
That one misses.
Okay.
So you cleave down through the center of the table, and it cracks it in the middle, right where the tongue is sticking out of it. You actually, okay, so you hit there, and then when you go to swing again, the pseudopod that is stuck to the side of Arteme's head is like in your way, so you end up kind of having to deflect your axe swing to not end up hitting Arteme, and it ends up making you miss, so you miss your second attack. But if your turn? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, Arteme, you are considered grappled by it. You can still hit it, but it'll have advantage when it tries to hit you, so.
Okay. I'll use my staff again, because
Okay.
close quarter.
Okay. Misses. You didn't have him targeted, but that was below his AC.
Yeah.
Any bonus actions?
Nope.
Okay, then Quill is going to make his way in. He kind of turns and checks on Sarah. He says, "You're okay, right? I mean, I can't get into the door with the big guy there, but you're okay."
I'm just laughing hysterically.
All right. He's standing at the door. He rushes to the rest of the way to the door. He says, "Guys, I was a soldier. I can help if you get out of the way." Sai's turn.
Oh, right. I can't roll for... She's still under the spell.
Oh shit, she is. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't put the prone on her. I forgot. So there we go. She got a 20. She rolled a 19, so for a 20. So she is broken out of it as well. She, is no longer yipping and laughing, and stands up. So yeah, she would have half of her movement, so that's less than 20. So she's good to get there. Okay, what is she doing?
She's gonna try and distract.
Okay, she's nipping at the other table leg.
Yeah.
Okay, that it for her turn.
Yep.
All right, it is Sarah's turn.
Alrighty.
19. All right, you beat it.
Yay.
So So you're no longer prone, and you have half your move. Assuming you're standing up, you have half your movement and whatever actions you choose.
Well, I can't be in Norok space, can I?
No.
I can just pass through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna...
Quill would move out of the way for you to let you through. He's back enough anyway, so you can get through. But you'd have to have enough movement to get around Sai and get to the other side, basically. If you're getting it to get in the room, or onto the stairs, you could go onto the stairs.
I could probably make it there.
That's fine. Sai doesn't take up that much space, so. So you see a long pseudopod that's where a table leg should be, that is like this long sticky piece that is stuck to the side of Artemis' head. And it hits.
Oh.
The damage.
I thought that would be one.
CG, that's what it should have done yesterday, by the way. We just didn't have sound turned on. Like, you heard what just happened there, right?
You're muted.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Any bonus actions?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Alright, then it is going to, with one pseudopod already stuck to her, he's going to have advantage on the attack, is going to grab, with actually the other front table leg, to try to whack at Artemis again, which hits. So he's going to hit there, and then pull in, using both of them, try to pull your head in. Fox, you basically have a pseudopod stuck to both sides of your head now, and it's trying to pull your head into its mouth.
That doesn't sound good.
Oh, actually, it would have advantage anyways. You got a 22 that time with advantage. No crit. Okay, so he still got the hit, but no crit. And then bites into the top of your head, basically into your skull with this toothy maw of this table, basically trying to take a bite out of you. With a pretty nasty bite of 14 damage of your head, basically. You're like kind of leaned over, grappled on both sides by this thing. Norik's turn. I don't know that that'll ever not be funny, that stupid groan. But it looks pretty badly beaten up. Like, he's pretty cleaved up, but he did just give a pretty nasty bite to Artemis.
Alright. See if I can get him dead.
Okay. It hits. I don't think you can not kill him. I think I'll probably... if you do a Great Weapmaster, he's dead. Go ahead and roll your damage.
Good thing we don't need him eating everybody. Pretty crappy damage, but yep, nice.
You bring the axe on down through the midsection, basically, of this thing, right through where the grin is, where it would just bit into Artemis, and it splits down the middle. There's no wood cracking sound because it just immediately kind of turns into this like gelatinous liquidy goo that falls to the floor. Both sides of your head feel like burned a little bit, Artemis, where the pseudopods were stuck to the sides of your head, and obviously the bite wound across your forehead. But it is dead and kind of collapses into a puddle on the floor.
Okay.
There we go. You're pretty badly wounded from that. You're no longer grappled, of course, but you have 12 HPs left, it looks like. And G, your rage would fall after this. You did...
Yeah.
You didn't
Just
frenzy,
regular
though.
rage.
Yeah, you didn't frenzy.
Yeah.
Okay. I keep mixing up your frenzy with your reckless. But that one collapses to the floor. There's no gold in this one. It just basically is a puddle on the floor now. Quill is like standing behind you. He says, like, he's still got, he pulled his sword out and he's holding it in one hand, a short sword, and he still has this book in the other, and you can tell that he like really wants to put that sword away and grab the pen back so he can go down, like, jot down what this thing looked like. But he says, what happened?
Same as last time, except for this one looked like a table.
I've never heard of one looking like a table before.
But something made me laugh that I couldn't stop. And it was a stupid joke, but I laughed anyway, so I'm guessing might have been something else around here, I don't know.
Okay, so to clarify that, in case that was unclear, Artemis specifically saw a feather floating in the air, not the table. She saw something else, a feather floating in the air, as if something was holding it, but she couldn't see what the thing was. Then the feather started dancing around, finished that arcane incantation, told that stupid joke, and then you guys started laughing. And as soon as you guys started laughing, Artemis didn't. And she heard a sweeping sound of something going west, basically, to her right, something going to her right. There's a door there, but there's no hallway. But she heard like a sweeping sound, like something being scraped, like scraping pebbles over the stone. So there was definitely, by Artemis' perception, there was definitely something else in this room that basically put that on you, and then and then the table attacked you.
We're
It's
gonna
up to you
follow
guys.
it.
That too. That now that you guys are in the room, you can see that stairway goes around the corner and then up again.
If I go peek around the corner, does it lead up to that door?
It does. It goes back to the main entrance, to that door up at the main entrance that was locked.
Alright. You guys want to go follow that guy? Or whoever it was that...
Isn't
That's
there
it.
another door here too? Like right beside me?
Yeah, there's a door right next to you as well.
Okay. I'd want to open it just to make sure there's nothing there.
Okay. That is F. You peek in there. That room is dark, but it is illuminated, of course, by the light you guys are carrying with you, as well as the green flame that's in the room you guys are already in. But when you open the door up, there's just some old leathers in the corner. It looks like it was probably at some point, long ago, was probably some kind of a blanket or a tapestry that might have been hanging on the wall, something like that. But it's basically just laying in the corner there. Otherwise, the room is empty. There's a door. There's another door that's kind of on the other side. That's it.
I'm probably going to regret this, but let's go check out the door.
Okay. That one. As soon as you open this door here, you see that there's another door across the way, and then the room lights up with green again. There's another brazier in here, and then there's a case, like a leather case, that is amongst the rubble. It's actually, you can kind of just barely see it on the map there, but basically it's right there. There's an itty bitty scroll case, like a leather case with paper sticking out of it. That's in the rubble.
Oh, God. Alright. I'm going to use Mage Hand this time and pick it up.
Okay. Let me get back to mask mode here. Your mage hand, you kind of send it over. Hang on. Do you mean your right hand
yeah.
mage hand, or do you mean a distant mage hand?
Right hand, Mage Hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. My fucking mouse is acting up again because I have two of them sitting next to each other, and they're interfering, I think. You see where with your right hand, you kind of reach out and grab it with your kind of temporary fingers, basically, around this case, and as soon as you do, it immediately sticks to the mage hand. It's stuck like glue to the mage hand. What do you do? I'll give you like a fraction of a second to do something.
I drop Mage Hand.
Okay. Drop mage hand as in cancel it, or just like push the mage hand away from you?
Cancel it.
Okay. Since you only have half of your hand and none of your actual fingers or none of your actual flesh basically would be touching this thing, when you cancel it, it falls out of your grasp and just, dings off of the floor in the rubble. It is close to your feet, though.
Alright, I'm going to back up here.
Okay.
And then use Mage Hand to pick it up. Or
Okay.
try to pull the papers out of it, because you said I could see the papers.
You can see that there are papers sticking out of it, yes.
I'm going to try and pull the papers out.
Okay. You only have one mage hand, so are you using you're not touching the case with the mage hand, you're just trying to grab the papers and pull the papers away?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a sleight of hand check, I guess, on Sarah. Good roll. Okay. You very deftly, using your mage hand, you grab the paper sticking out of the case and start to pull them away. And as soon as the hand is starting to get like half the distance, let's say, so basically as soon as it's a foot away of pulling the papers out of the scroll case, you see the mouth slide open on the case, and the pseudopod snaps out and tries to grab your mage hand. Trying to stick to it, but they're just, it can grab it, but nothing can happen from it. So the papers are out of the case, and your mage hand is kind of pulled over towards the scroll case, and is just like stuck to it, like on the back.
All right, but the papers are out of it.
Papers are out of it.
How far away are the papers from the case?
Not far enough.
Oh, God. All right. I'm gonna firebolt the case.
Okay. Go ahead and make it. Well, here I'll drop another one in here so that you guys can see it. There you go. You blast the rocks. But I will tell you, this one is really small and really light. So as soon as you've done that, your mage hand is stuck to it. But just make a quick intelligence check on Sarah. Yeah, never mind. You feel like you probably are going to have to kill this thing if you want to get the papers. What are Arteme and Norok and Sai doing? Quill has followed along closely because he wanted to see this. So he's standing in the corner just, urging caution and jotting a picture of this thing.
Okay, I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna use Shillelagh.
Okay. And you're going to whack it?
Yes.
Okay. This one seems very small and very weak, so... Go ahead and, oh, it hits. Go ahead and make your damage roll. That was enough. Actually, it had exactly 10. So you crack this this leather scroll case looking thing across its midsection, and it begins to dissolve. It actually is dissolving very rapidly, and it looks like that liquid is just about to hit those papers.
Can I grab them?
Go ahead. I would say that you were already paying close attention to the papers anyway, so instead of having to make any kind of a roll, you just grab them quickly before the liquid starts to soak into them. But you pick up these rolled up scrolls. They're starting to dissolve pretty quickly in your hands. There's one of them that doesn't seem like it's that in that bad of shape, but the rest are starting to dissolve pretty heavily.
Can I read them at all?
You can read most of it. Let's see. Make a. I guess. Not memory. I would say that you could still get your proficiency. Go ahead and we'll just call it a memory check. But make an intelligence check, and we'll add your proficiency modifier manually. It'd probably be history would be the same check since you're proficient in history. That's a good roll. It's the middle one, thankfully, and the other seemed to have probably absorbed most of the moisture, since the middle one was kind of buffeted on both sides. And the water damage that this place seems to be filled with. The language is very old. It's the same old Mephuan dialect that you've seen, in previous cases, like for example what was scrawled on Vulcanbrecker, and it is taking up the majority of this big page is a large, very intricately detailed drawing, like a schematic, a drawing of an amulet that's carved of wood and bone. It looks like, and the scroll at the top of this calls this amulet the Wood Sage's Chorus. Here, I'll click that in a second. And it notes multiple first-hand accounts of how the Mephuan green seers would wear this amulet to amplify their ability to draw in an Urian rill, like a draw in magic, without destroying their minds or destroying the natural order around them. That's basically there's your note for it.
Okay.
Quill, though, is like enamored as soon as you see this. He's like very eager about asking you what it says. What is it?
It's essentially schematics for a relic, or depicting a relic.
He seems very surprised. He says, "You can read ancient Mephuan?"
Sort of.
You were able to kind of gather most of this. It's you've spent a long time kind of studying the language enough to be able to read up bits and pieces of it, enough to piece together what this is. It's not a schematic in the means of how to make one, but a very detailed drawing of a specific historic relic that was obviously important to the Mephuans. He says, "Can I see it? Do you mind if I look it over?"
Sure. Just be careful.
He pulls out gloves out of his pack, like a pack he's wearing, like a fanny pack type of a, hip pack type of a thing, and puts them on. And they're, like thick leather gloves, but they're specifically to keep, the acids and stuff like that from his fingers from damaging paper. But he grabs it and he looks it over and he says, by this, and you were still reading through most of this basically, but there is a documented history basically of it was this person owned this, and then it went to this person, and then this person after him, and so on, and through its kind of history essentially. And he's kind of reading this almost out loud. He says, it looks like the last mention of this Wood Sage's chorus. It was worn by Prince Ameridan, and I mean, do you know about Prince Ameridan?
I don't know. Do I know about Prince Meredith?
Make a history check. You need to beat a 16. Arteme, you can make one too.
Okay.
If you want.
Oh, nope. No idea.
Yeah, because I would know okay, probably not, but I would know some history.
For this particular region, you potentially could, you could have heard of him, having been from basically southeastern Mist. But neither of you have, or at least not enough to get the details that he's specifically referring to. He says, I mean, I can tell you some, at least. I mean, we probably don't have time to go over his entire, life. But Prince Ameridan, I mean, he fell in battle against the Zuni in 971 DE. It was at the burning of the Shire Glen. Really, I mean, if he still had this thing, this would be invaluable, information to have, because if he still carried that Wood Sage's chorus, since there's no mention of it after this. That this could be huge. This kind of a relic would be so important to have.
What was the guy's name?
I didn't make notes for those, so here you go. He called him Prince Ameridan, who was a Mefuan prince, and he died in D. And that was the. I mean, he told you anyway, so he died at the, here you go. There you go. Because Quill seems to like you guys as well, especially since you guys have kind of brought him into, not necessarily you guys' choice really, but, being in a historic ruin like this, he's very happy. He mentions that there's some belief that Ameridan was betrayed by his general, a man named Cadigan, which led to his death. So I'll give you that note as well. There you go. Arteme, make a perception check. Make it with advantage too. Assuming that you're looking, like if you looked over or tried to get a, peek over Quill's shoulder or Sarah while she was holding it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Mouse. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's it for this room, though there is a door to the north. But that's all you see in here. Norok, make a perception check as well.
Alright, 1 second here.
You cooking or something, G?
Oh, no, I was just smoking.
Oh.
Okay.
You standing kind of with your back to that door, just kind of making sure that you guys don't get something sneaking in behind you or anything. you have the kind of weird feeling that there's like there's whispers, like you're being watched, and it feels like you're not quite the same way that Sarah gets that feeling, I guess, but you have that kind of skin, the hair on the back of her neck, skin crawl kind of a feeling.
All right. And which direction did I feel that was coming from, or was there
Behind
a direction
you,
just all
the
around?
room where
Behind
they're
me.
in. Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to tell them that if they're down in there, we might want to move along. Get a funny feeling.
Alright, you guys want to check out the other door? Or get out of here?
Well, it's up to you guys, but I'm sure we're going to keep finding trouble, so depends on how much you want to find.
I just don't want any surprises.
Alright.
Quill says, I mean, yes, while that's true, you know, if we're going to be using these rooms to house the infirm, we're going to need to make sure that it's safe.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, so far these troubles haven't been so severe that we couldn't handle it, right?
Yeah,
Fair enough. Let's carry on then.
You're not pussies, are you?
I am.
I think, Fox, did you intentionally make Arteme bigger?
No, I didn't.
Okay, because she's...
I think I
it was
just
only one
tried
step.
to.
Yeah, it was
I
only
think
one
I
step.
tried to move her, but that's it.
Gotcha. I was looking at it, it's like, Arteme looks like as big as Norok. That's weird. And then I looked at it, it's like she's one step above like the normal size token, so it doesn't matter if it's, you know, easier to pick it up or whatever. All right, so you guys checking that door?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, which one is that? All right, Sarah, you reach to well, does Sarah reach for the door?
Oh my god. Yes, but I'm using my right hand.
Oh, using your mage
It's
hand?
back up. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you reach out with your fingers, your mage hand fingers, and as soon as it gets near the doorknob splits in half, opens up, and tries to swallow the mage hand fingers. Make a dex check. Dex save, sorry.
Of course it does. Everything wants to eat me.
I mean, you know what's in this place. You know that this is the kind of, you know, even as Quill has told you, like these specific, you know, mimics, but these specific types of shapeshifters like cold, damp places, and they just eat insects and bugs or whatever else comes along.
Save or check?
Check. Sorry, save. No, save.
Nope.
It clamps down hard on that mage hand, like you yank your hand away, and thankfully it didn't grab any of your actual, you know, shadowy flesh, but you pull your hand away and your mage hand is stuck in its mouth.
Right. Can the mage hand, like, still try to push the door open even though it's stuck in its mouth?
The door itself is alive.
Oh,
It's not just the
right.
doorknob. The doorknob just happens to be where its mouth was right now.
okay. Well, I'm gonna stand back here and tell Narek you might want to go smash a door. Oh, and I'm using my mage hand in the right hand because I don't want Quill to notice my
Okay,
hand.
okay. I'll keep that in mind. I don't think Norok and Sarah, or Norok and Arteme rather, know how severe it is either anyway. Like, they didn't know that you were, unless you told them that you were using mage hand in place of your own, you were just kind of filling your glove. So,
Nope. They don't know.
okay. Norok, Sarah had asked you to go smash the door because it's alive.
Yeah, alright. So,
It's trying to chew on a mage hand right now, so it hasn't started to move or anything, but it can, so just keep that in mind.
alright. Then I will...
Go ahead and just make an attack roll. I'll drop one in there so that
Yeah.
I'll apply it here in a second. I should just keep this one up so I can drop it in there easier. Oh, I got a initiative roll of 8 this time. You can go ahead and target it now. It's on there anyways.
Okay. Okay.
It hits.
Sweet.
Hit exactly 20. You cleave this on down through the middle as it's still trying to chew on a mage hand, and the door just dissolves. And then you see there were no hinges. There wasn't even supposed to be a door there. It was just a mimic that was taking the shape of a door to try to trick people, or trick whatever occupants could be in here. But it puddles down into this kind of glimmering liquid on the floor, and it starts kind of spilling out down through the rubble and then down towards some stairs. That with that out of the way, you can now see that this chamber comes down like this, down some more stairs, and then opens up into a small, wider room at the end.
All right. Going to peek around both sides and see what I can see.
On the right is a big double door. On the left is just an open chamber. There's more pebbles and things like that. Nothing of any real interest.
Okay, and then a wall there, so it's just the end, little
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the right side is a door, and then the left side is just a wall, flat wall.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a little listen. Investigation?
Perception.
Perception.
I have a question. Can I
Yeah.
have both dancing lights and mage hand up at the same time?
Are either concentration? Dancing lights isn't concentration, is it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, neither of them are concentration. You could have them both up.
Nope. Dancing lights is concentration up to 1 minute.
Really? Why do I not have it marked as concentration on there then? Alright, then I need to put that on there. That means you were dropping it the whole time. So I've just marked it so that it has a concentration mark for you. Yeah, it does have the concentration thing and everything. I just didn't have the symbol in there for you. Okay. Well, that's fixed. But thanks for noticing that. Arteme had light up anyways, and then there were glowing braziers too, so I guess would have been okay. But
Yeah. Light lasts up to an hour, and I put it on... Can I put light on more than one thing at a time?
as long as it's not concentration, you can cast on as many as you want.
Okay, it's not concentrations. I'd probably put on Sai's necklace, my
Okay.
choker, and I guess the orb around my,
Your focus?
yeah.
Okay.
No, I already said my choker, but I have like a little, ball that's in
Oh,
my
that's right.
belt.
Yeah,
So
I
I
forgot
just
about
put it on that.
that. Okay.
So there's 3 lights. There's one on Sai too, so we know where she is.
That's good to know. Alright, you listening at the door, though, there is a very quiet, very subtle sweeping sound in the room. Like taking an old style broom, like a what's not wheat, straw broom, and sweeping pebbles off the floor.
All right, I'm gonna turn around to the ladies and motion that there's something moving in there, without saying anything.
Alright. Do you have dark vision? Can you
I don't
see
think any of the 3 of you
down
do.
there? I think I do because.
Oh,
of
you do
my-
because of shadow. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, because otherwise I'm gonna have to keep dancing lights up.
Well, I mean, if Sai and Arteme both have, Arteme has 2 sorcerers on herself, and then Sai has some, and light is a big radius, so you'll still be able to see from those.
Alright, and I'm gonna drop it.
Okay.
All right. You guys want me to open it or what?
Kinda have to.
Okay.
I mean, we want to make it safe.
All right. Then I'm going to slowly open the door and peek through.
Okay. The room is a very large, like the largest you've seen of these. Just now that it's kind of better illuminated, as soon as you've opened the door, green braziers light up, and there's more in here than any room had previous. It's a very large chamber, and there's a large stone chair at the center of the room, and it's adorned like the back of it looks like a throne, right? Basically in the center of the room, like a kind of Celtic barbarian style throne, in the middle of the room there, and there is atop the back of it is like an ancient elk skull with antlers coming off of both sides of it, like basically just a full elk skull, and there's rotted furs all over the chair. There are 2 wooden chests in the room. There's a table in the corner. There's a bunch of, like, it's basically collapsed in the southwest corner. You can barely see that, but you can see that there's rubble strewn across the room from that. Let me reveal the room for you. And then there's doors on the far side. And there are, like furs and leathers and stuff across the middle of the floor. Basically what you see on the map is what you see here.
Alright then.
You can stand in the corner.
How close to the corner are you standing, Sarah? I'm kidding.
dear.
I'm kidding. The walls aren't mimics. I'm just kidding. There's actually 2 doors on the north as well. So there's a door here and another door here.
Okay. And then the eastern part is doors too, or just
Yeah.
the north?
Yeah, there's another double door on the east wall right there.
Alright, well, what do you guys think?
Quill has stepped inside as well, kind of stepping around, looking. There's a sword on the, like an old, it's certainly Mephuan style, but an old rusty, like it's not functional at all. Just historical relevance, but not necessarily any kind of functional or valuable relevance. Just laying in the corner.
Can't see what made the sweeping sound.
Make perception check. Both Sarah and Norak, you can make perception checks again. This will be your last attempt for this, though, to see, because this is basically, as soon as the door was opened, as opposed to while it was closed. And then Artemis, she's coming in too. Nope, nothing seems like there's nothing moving except for the the flickering of the razors. Yeah, nobody spots anything. Everything seems like an old ruin for sure. Nothing seems to be moving.
And the sound stopped?
Yes, you didn't hear it anyways. Only Norak did. Okay, well, Norak, as soon as you've approached that chair, it's the chair itself. It starts to kind of begin to stand up, and you hear this constant creaking of wood, like very ancient, old forest wood, creaking and groaning as the chair starts to kind of like horror movie. Who's the woman that climbed through the TV? Do you know what I'm talking about? In that horror movie? Yeah, in The Ring.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah. So you remember that kind of weird disjointed movement that she had? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The chair starts to kind of stand up like that until it's standing full height, taller than you are, antlers against the ceiling. I'll share a VA for you guys here.
Okay, wasn't chair the last thing part of that joke? Because there was a bar, a table, and a chair, right?
Yeah, I think the table might have been the last one. I don't remember exactly, but this is what after it kind of changes its shape. This is another form of shape changer. Quill is immediately spooked, of course, and kind of backs away, but draws his, puts the book away, and then immediately draws his sword. And give me some initiative. And I did get the sound that I needed for this one. See if I can find the right one.
Yeah.
2 natural 20s on initiative? This, by the way, you don't have any way of knowing this, but this was the thing that had been moving around, and you at least knew that it was able to turn invisible. So, it is there, directly in front of Nora, quite a bit larger. The name of it, by the way, Sarah, go ahead and give me nature checks on Sarah and Artemis.
I hate to ruin it. Look at the VA that you shared with us.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's there. It was just a matter of whether they recognize what that is. Quill was going to tell you anyway, so it didn't matter. But if you recognize what it is. So, I didn't...
Okay.
So, but here, I'll just give you the note for it. There you go. Both Artemis and Sarah had rolled high enough to know that. You remember what the Crays were, right? Or Trays?
I don't know what that is.
That
Yeah,
was... Dajin.
hyenas.
Yeah, the hyena guy that was, a pack of
Oh,
hyenas.
right.
So they're
Okay.
basically like a distant cousin, essentially, of a evolutionary cousin, like different types of shapeshifters. Mimics are kind of a very low on the order of that type of shapeshifter. And Zrimir, like this is a specific kind of Zrimir. It's not, you guys don't know what kind this is. You just know that it is a Zrimir, basically. So Zrimir is a type, just like a Kraze is the type, and so on. So, anyways, you guys rolled your initiative already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was size, Fox? 13? Okay.
Yeah, 13, so
we got a
I think it was
15?
plus 2.
Yeah, she got a 15. A bit loud, hang on. Okay, there we go. But you do know that this thing, based on it, what it did and then ran, you know that this thing has some tricks, so keep that in mind. It is Artemis' turn.
Oh, okay.
Did you choose to move up into its face like that? Because you were far enough away that you didn't have to be within melee
Yeah,
range.
no, I put myself more into the room because I had
Okay.
to move them.
Gotcha.
Okay, first off, I would use, or have used a potion.
Okay.
I just noticed I have some.
Yeah, you have 3, or had anyway, so go ahead. Don't forget, too, that new whip that you have has good range on it, too. You don't necessarily know
Yeah, I
quite how
still
much,
don't
but...
see it. I don't, yeah, I still don't see it in my weapons.
Why do you not see that? It's definitely there. What we'll do, we'll just do the math manually. When you choose, if you want to use it, just let me know, and I'll just have you roll the dice. Okay. There you go. There's your natural ones. That's what we're used to seeing, 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
Would you have drunk more than one, or just the one?
Probably just one right now.
Okay. Then that was before coming into the room, I assume, because you were all beat up.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you doing for your turn?
I guess I'll try the new stuff.
Okay.
Then
The new whip. All right. It'll be a +6, so go ahead and target him, and then make an attack with your quarterstaff, and it'll actually be 1 higher than that. So whatever you roll, it'll be 1 higher than that if it hits or misses here. Well, that definitely would hit. So you kind of grab the new whip off of your hip and unfurl it and go to snap it out at him, and where the kind of the length of the whip, you feel like it should have stopped there, which would have been a perfect kind of slash over him. It actually extends quite a bit further, like it basically snaps out of it, like as if this whip itself had like a tongue inside of it or something, that it snapped out even further and wrapped around it, and then when you yank it back, it kind of lacerates the skin away when you pull it back. Basically, the range on this thing is actually about 25 feet, 25 to 30 feet maybe, as opposed to a normal whip, which would only be 10, so it kind of extends out on its own. But it still feels like sticky in your hand. And I would say that probably gives Artemis a small amount of pause after having been in this room or in this place a little bit. Do you get what I'm getting at there?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, and for damage it's a 1d6 plus 3. So go ahead and roll that. And this creature is fleshy, actually, so you'll still get the 1d6. So go ahead and roll a d6 and a d4.
Okay. You're gonna have to direct me on.
They're the ones that are on the farthest right. The one that looks like a regular die, and then the triangle one. There you go. There you go. So that's 6 plus 3 is 9. There you go. The creature, just kind of wide, like there's no eyes in this thing, but the kind of face of the bone of the skull kind of looks in your direction, and both of its hands come up wide, and they're these very long, elongated claws made out of just ancient wood, basically just sharpened wood, as it kind of turns towards you, like he's going to try to approach you. That it for your turn?
I'm just gonna move back a bit.
Okay. And it is Norik's turn. That Reckless fell off from the door. Like they said, it's 6 seconds, and it's been more than 6 seconds, so.
Yeah.
Alright, what are you on, G?
Start with my rage. My last. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to extra rage.
Okay, now you're going to use your frenzy?
Yeah.
Because you assume this is the boss?
And see if I can hit homeboy.
Okay.
But I will put Reckless back on.
Okay.
Hey, right weapon.
You got a paragraph of shit on your combat tracker entry.
Seriously. Good thing.
And it hits.
Alright, and I'm going to add my great weapon damage, and I'm going to add
You're
my
reckless.
Tribal Fury.
Okay.
Alright.
Trying to go all out on this one swing.
And it'll be like once.
Still a
One
big hit.
damage, yep.
Still a big hit though. If you
Yeah.
had waited till you got a crit, because you have 2 more attacks this round, you could have gotten a crit on one of those potentially. Then you could have doubled that. You could have doubled that tribal fury as well if you just think to use it when you get a crit.
That's
But
true.
it does mean, that you may end up not even using it at all in a fight, which would be kind of a waste if you don't ever end up critting. Okay, go ahead and make your
Yeah.
second attack. And it hits.
Sweet.
You don't even have your new badass Vulcan Breaker back yet.
Yeah, can't wait for that.
You didn't check in on Doros, by the way. He could have died in battle.
Ah, damn it. Took my stuff with them. It's the grave.
And now you'd have to dig through an entire battlefield of thousands of corpses to try to find it.
Yeah,
Now,
seriously.
didn't Pepperjack say that he needed a place for him?
Astarte said that her forge master needed a forge, but she didn't specify who that was. Could have Doros could have died and passed it on to somebody else. You guys just didn't ask, so you don't know. Go ahead and make your third swing.
I raged this time, so I don't have a third swing.
Oh.
Because that was my bonus. Not this round, next round. I
Oh
will.
yeah, for
But
fun.
I-
Okay, yeah. Okay, yep.
But
Right, cool.
this round was my bonus. Or my,
I forgot you. Yeah,
rage
I forgot you
bonus.
had to rage at the
So,
beginning. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Sai's turn. What is she doing?
She'll try and distract.
Okay. She goes around you. You as you kind of point to direct her where to go. She goes around the ankles of this big creature, and is kind of yipping around and kind of dancing between its feet. And you recognize those feet are the shape that you saw of the prints outside that led into the mausoleum space. That's
Okay.
the look that you saw were the shape of this thing's feet as you see her kind of dancing around him. Okay, Sarah's turn.
Yeah, well,
Oh, go
I'll
ahead.
call out to say this is probably what's been coming in and out.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's see. 5, 10, 15. Alright, I need a 15-foot cone.
You remember how to make it?
Yeah, if I can get it to pop up here.
Are you gonna burn poor little Sai?
What? No? Oh, crap. 20, 25, 30. There we go.
Okay, how close to that table are you getting?
Ah, shit.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
You made these jokes just for the session because everything's live, didn't you?
I thought it'd be fun.
It is good stuff.
Alright, so... Oh, shoot, how do I turn it?
I think you grab the corner, like grab the top part, and then move it to the left. And you have to move the base down to you a little bit too. I can do. There you go, just like that. Yep. But you can angle it so that you're not going to barely. You have to be kind of a careful shot, but you can angle it so that you don't end up hitting Sai or Norok.
Yeah, so like angle it.
Yeah,
There.
it's pretty big.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice.
What are you trying to do?
We're gonna do Dragon's Breath,
Okay.
and we're gonna do fire damage, because you said he's made of wood, right?
Yep. He's very ancient wood. In fact, he creaked like wood when he stood up and started to move.
Alright, so... Oh, come on. Oh, that's what I did. There we go.
There's your concentration.
Next.
He failed. He got a 9 + 1 is a 10. So you
Burn.
breathe out a wave of fire that washes over him, and you see where he would, like, you can see it in the picture, but he's basically covered in moss, and this kind of noxious smell kind of begins to come off of him as the moss is burned away over his left arm and left shoulder, where you kind of angle this burn to not hit Sai or Norok. You did your bonus action too, so.
Is it a bonus action? I thought it was.
It's a bonus action to put it up, isn't it?
I thought I could.
Bonus action? Yeah, bonus action. Yeah, you did. You still have your action. It's just a bonus action.
Oh, well, I was going to use that as my action and then use my sorcery points as a bonus action to get that slot back.
You're not supposed to be able to do that, because Dragon's Breath is a bonus action spell. You're not supposed to be able to switch them. But in this sake, I don't particularly care. Go ahead. So just keep that in mind for the future. That's a bonus action spell, so basically that is, that would take your bonus action, so you wouldn't have a bonus action left for your sorcery points, but it doesn't,
Okay,
I'm not worried about it right now.
Is the breathing the fire still a bonus action?
I think the initial cast is, let me read it real quick, but I think the initial cast, basically the concentration and the breathe is all one bonus action. Imbue it with that. Remember, you can put that on other people too. I always forget about that, but until the spell ends, the creature can use an action. Okay, so it would have actually been both. So you would have cast it on yourself as a bonus, and then breathed it as an action.
Okay, well then I'll just save my sorcery points for the next round.
Go ahead and put them on there. It's fine for right now. Just remember that for next time.
Alright.
Okay. That it for your turn?
Yeah.
All right. Quill has already, drawn his sword when he saw this thing start to move. Is going to run in around Sai. He wants to. Well, you know what? He can swing above Sai actually, because Sai is like so low and just around its feet, and is going to try to hack at the big creature here, which he misses. He calls out to you. He says it's a leshen. Be careful. It can disappear and it can change its shape. As if you didn't already know that. It is called a leshen, and you like I just identified it so that you can tell the name in there. And as soon as he's kind of swung at this and shouted that, seeing himself kind of somewhat surrounded, it disappears. You guys immediately see it snap out of existence, and
Is it on fire?
Dragon's Breath doesn't have a duration term. I think it basically the breath goes over it and burns it away, but it doesn't continue to be on fire. But he doesn't disappear and gone. He basically snaps himself over here into the corner, and as soon as he Misty stepped is what he did. So I mean you would know the spell, but he did Misty step and moved himself over here. And as soon as he's moved over to the corner here, he is going to. That'll take his concentration. Yeah, I think he's going to do that. You hear a loud keening sound, like a squealing sound, coming out of the skull, with the antlers coming out of it. And immediately you hear rushes of wings and a howl. You hear rushes of wings coming from the west behind Arteme, and a howl, like a wolf's howl, coming from the east from those other doors. And as soon as that happens, grab them. They did not roll very well in the initiative. The door to the east smashes wide open with this massive burst of wind, smashes open backwards, and a wolf is standing in the doorway. And from behind Sarah, a swarm of crows comes flying into the room as well. Just behind, they're still have their own initiative orders. They're not acting yet. But basically, he Misty stepped and then summoned these creatures, and then is going to take a raking claw swipe at Arteme for a 23. This could go bad. 14 damage to Arteme. Arteme has 3 hit points left. That is it for the Leshen's turn. What's Arteme doing?
I'm gonna use Healing Spirit.
Okay. You don't get the instant heal from that, though. Remember, you get it when you start your turn. And you have no other spell slots left, do you? That's your last spell slot?
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay. You do... that's on a short rest, I think. Don't forget you have your natural recovery thing, too. So when you take a short rest, you can get a spell slot back, but... Okay.
Hadn't we taken a short rest on the way here?
Not...
Or-
no, you really didn't. Like, as soon as you guys got that, like, you put the kids in there, but pretty much you marched out to Dunskathak, and then helped the kids build the wall. Like, basically, you've been pretty hard at work the whole time.
Alright, okay.
So you put up Healing Spirit. Let me give you your token for that. But remember, you don't get the heal from it, and you are within melee range of this thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my initiative to disengage.
Your inspiration?
Yeah.
To do what?
Disengage.
Okay. The Swift Act one?
Yep.
Alright. Okay, go ahead and mark it off.
So, like, right here.
Okay. So you disengage and GTFO, and that it for your turn?
Yep.
Okay. It is Norik's turn.
Alright.
Part of the fun of that is that it's always a surprise. I'm never used to. I'm never prepared for it.
Gotta face him. And then I'm going to...
You don't want to try to swing over your shoulder at him?
Yeah, probably not. See if I can beat him up again.
I didn't give you the description. When he misty stepped, he bursts into a cloud of ravens and then or crows and flies over to the other corner and then kind of recoalesces into its shape.
Okay.
I thought it was limited to one creature though, so wouldn't it just turn into one crow?
Misty step? No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you mean the shape shifting? It's a specific. It's a spell effect.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. So I mean, in that case, it still would be. It's basically just a spell effect, though. It's not his ability to actually he couldn't stay in that shape or anything.
Okay, so basically he's one of the crows, but with the spell effect, it looks like more than one.
Yeah, it's an illusion,
Okay,
really.
gotcha.
It's not real. Yeah.
Okay.
That missed you.
Dang. Alright.
You gonna go all 3 swings this time?
Yeah. Seriously?
That also missed. There you go. That hit.
Hey. That's better.
That's a good roll. Yeah. So you make 2 wide swings that he's just kind of flailing. He's very lithe, like very thin and really tall, and it's just kind of flailing its claws up over your head and around you. So you keep missing, and then when you do, when a last shot connects with the trunk of it, it's like chopping a tree. Like basically it chops into ancient wood, and splinters of it go cascading around. As soon as you've done that, though, you hear cawing coming from over your right shoulder, and a swarm of birds comes in, trying to just peck your eyes out, which hit. Total of 7, cut in half for your rage, as they're kind of flying around your head. Which, the roll wasn't high enough. No. Basically, you could get they could potentially blind you or impact your ability to hit, but so far they did not successfully. So, what's I doing?
She's gonna try and distract this wolf for a bit.
The wolf? Okay. Go ahead and drop the distract on the wolf. There you go. And Sarah's turn.
Right.
Fox, are you okay for a little bit till we finish this fight?
Yep.
Okay. Since you already had your food and your dirt tea.
Jeez.
Not facing the wall. There we go. Okay. And give that a try.
He failed. Got 9 plus 2. Oh, nice. Roasted that poor wolf. He was calling in for reinforcements, and you guys just fucking annihilated stupid wolf. All right, that it for your turn? Okay.
Yeah, because I used my thing already.
Okay.
Bonus.
All right. The wolf, of course, is just toast. So just catches on fire, and the fur begins to burn into its flesh, and it just kind of collapses there. Quill is flipping around, and if he can't quite make it around there, he's probably just gonna from here. He's gonna have to try to swing at the Leshen. Why is it my NPCs are always such garbage? Freaking got a 15, and the AC on this thing is, well, slightly higher than that, I guess is how I'll tell you that. But the Leshen now is going to take 2 claws swipes at Norok in front of him. First one misses. Second one hits. For, well, 5, because he cuts it in half. And is being cornered again, is going to... you see him burst into crows again, and is going to move himself over here, and leaves behind, as soon as he does it, leaves behind a mass of entangling vines. Make strength save on Norok, and I'll have to do one on Quill as well. Quill beats it, and so do you. Okay, so the tangling vines kind of appear in that corner there. I'll just draw a circle for now, actually, because I don't want to grab the token for it. This whole space is filled with tangling vines that he left behind. That's it for his turn. He was an ineffective on this turn. It is Artemis' turn, and you were inside the healing spirit. Yeah, so go ahead. Okay. Now what are you doing?
I'm not gonna do anything for now. Don't wanna
Really?
get killed.
You could run in and make a, whip strike and then jump back. Like, you can always move backwards, remember?
Yeah, here, I'll just try hitting it with my bow.
Okay. It hits. For 7 damage. There we go. He actually is looking like there's big chunks of wood that are broken off of him already. Like he's looking pretty wounded. He's still got a long ways to go, but he's not looking fully healthy or anything. Okay, that it for Artemis' turn.
Yep.
Okay, Norik's turn.
Alright, I'm going to use my inspiration to bring back my tribal endurance in case I need it.
Okay.
Alright, I'll mark that off later so I don't waste time. And then I'm going to
I got it.
see it. Okay, thank you. See if I can smash those stupid crows. But I'm guessing that probably won't take much, so hopefully.
It hits.
Sweet. Murder this group of crows.
Well, you cleave through one wide swing, and you end up killing 3 birds with it, and there's still 2 left that are still flitting around. They're not completely wiped out, but basically you've wiped out most of the swarm.
Okay. Then I'm going to just regular attack this time.
Okay.
Don't think I would need great weapon, so
That hits.
good thing. There we go.
And that's enough. Yeah, you wipe out the last couple of them with another upward strike. You still have 1 hit left and your movement. You just gonna walk on over Quill, just push him out of the way?
Yeah, fuck him. Alright.
That hits. That's a pretty good roll. You hack another chunk out of its midsection, and it looks like a tree that is 3/4 of the way cut through. Basically, like it doesn't look like he's very healthy left. Yeah. Sai's turn.
She's gonna distract him again, or try to.
Okay. You can apply the distraction effect on him. There you go. Okay. And Sarah's turn.
Right, so I don't want to kill Sai or Norox, so I guess I will use a firebolt.
Okay.
She could distract him from there if that makes it easier too.
Well, it's wherever you moved her to already, but natural one.
Yeah.
You try to fling the firebolt towards him, and you end up kind of catching an ankle on a pebble there, and it trips you. You end up catching yourself. You don't fall, but you end up catching yourself, but standing. Like it just moves you over here. Basically, is all that happens. Quill's turn. He comes around the corner. He says, "This is a slippery motherfucker, isn't he?" And tries to take another slash at him, which finally hits. You get one hit in. He does max damage on it. The creature, having been pretty badly wounded, you see it burst itself into like a misty step, except what's left behind is nothing. The birds disappear from the illusion of it, and he's not there anymore. There. Artemis' turn.
Is he still in the room?
You make perception check. You can't tell, but I will say, actually, just as a free action, as soon as that happens, Quill shouts around the room. He says they can change their size. He could have just shrunk himself down to tiny and tried to run. Are we trying anything?
I really don't know what to try. Like, I'm out of spell slots.
Okay, no problem. You don't have to try anything. I was just curious. Knock. Yeah. G?
Guess there's not much else I can do except for just try to look around. So he was back there, so I'm going to look to the direction I'm facing, to the east, and try to look as close as I can. That way.
That door actually got smashed open by a huge wind blast when he summoned the wolf and the crows, so you can actually see out there into that hallway a little ways, and it looks like it's just another hallway, but you don't see anything that like nothing stands out. Make a perception check on Norok. You rolled a natural 20. You hear sweeping sounds behind you, running out the like that kind of sound going out and then up the stairs, like behind you.
Can I yell that as a bonus or a free action and say, behind me, I hear it moving?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I I'm good.
Okay,
Because I'm guessing that would be, my action. So yeah.
sure. Sai doing anything?
Nope.
Okay. Sarah doing anything?
Did you tell me if it was going up the stairs or not, or just that it was behind you? Because if you just said it's behind you, then I'm just going to turn around and use Dragon's Breath back there.
You can burn all those vines.
Uh-huh. Well, in the direction of the door, because I'm assuming he's trying to run that way.
Yeah.
So, so I guess I'll just,
Go ahead
hope I
and
hit something.
if you're gonna do that, go ahead and make the cast. Just do it without a target, and I'll tell you if it hits or not.
Do I still, I don't even have him targeted, so.
Yeah, you're fine. Oh, it's a save. Well, okay. Well, the thing is that if I roll any shadow dice, then you'll see it. But I'll tell you, basically, you breathe out this cone of fire over it, and you don't see it connect with anything. It looks like just a gout of flame. It doesn't look like he was within that cone of space in that direction.
Alright, let's see. 5, 10, 20, 30, about there. I'm just gonna wait there.
Okay. Go ahead and make a perception check on Sarah as well.
Okay.
You don't hear or see anything.
Okay.
And at that point, it's his turn again. There's pretty much a billion places he could hide, but he is, as far as you guys can tell, he's gone. Like you don't have any way to find him at the moment anyways. Unless you had the ability to see invisible and things like that. For all intents and purposes, he has evaded your guys' assault here. What are you guys doing? I mean, we'll go ahead and call it here, of course, because we're after time. But I guess, are you guys going to try to pursue him or just let him go?
I don't know, because he just, like, changed shapes and attacked us.
Well, he thought Nork was going to try to hit him, because basically you guys came through and killed all of his, his family, essentially, like the other things that are similar to him, and then came up, like, Norok walked up to him in chair form. He was trying to hide as a chair. Like, from the perception of these creatures are not necessarily intelligent so much as they're reactionary, like an animal, and, he was essentially cornered in his own den.
Okay, well, it's just because one of them tried to eat us? Like,
well,
are
okay,
we supposed to leave them eat us?
But if if a hungry animal tries to attack somebody to eat them, of course, then what else can they do? It's survival, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, we'll go ahead and call it there. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, it was
I
good.
would just heal up.